Oh no, am I gonna have to do that? Why did I say it out loud? Oh. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. Today we are jumping into season 2 of the Vampire Diaries. It's been a minute, but I'm really excited to get this one out to you guys. Hi to everybody that's here. This little group of YouTube is growing kind of quicker than I thought it would, and I'm really happy that so many of you Vampire Diaries fans have found me because I was looking for y'all. I was hoping you would come and you're here. So hi, it's good to see you. I hope you're ready to jump into season 2. I was planning to get this out later in the month, and there was such a commotion about the first 2 that I really wanted to get this one out as soon as I could. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'm also trying a new camera setup today, so I'm using my old Canon instead of the webcam and the mic situation. I know the visual is going to be better. Let me know how you guys feel about the audio, because I don't have a mic right now. I'm just talking loud enough for the camera to pick me up fully. So hopefully, we're hoping for the best, okay? Let's get into episode 1. Just to give you like a very quick recap, we closed out season 1 with Catherine showing up, pretending to be Elena, and attacking John in the Gilbert kitchen. So she cuts his ring off his hand, and then she stabs him. So she has left him to die. Elena comes home, and she wanders into the kitchen and finds John, and he immediately is like, behind you, somebody's in the house, even though he's like bleeding out and dying. So she turns around, she doesn't see anybody, and it ends up like Catherine's in the house kind of playing with her, but Catherine leaves without doing anything weird. Jeremy, who, if you'll remember, took a bunch of pills and tried to have the big sleep to turn into a vampire, he wakes up somehow and he's completely fine. Nothing happens to him. So everybody's kind of like, Jeremy, don't do that again. And he's like, darn, it didn't work. Like, he has like a weird reaction to it because at this point in the show he really wants to be a vampire, and everybody's like, please don't do that again. That was not a good idea, you dummy. At the hospital, Caroline was in that car accident, and so she is not doing good. The last time we saw her, her mom was like, they're gonna do everything they can, but she has internal bleeding. So they all show up to the hospital, and Damon is like, I could give her my blood, she would heal, she'll be fine, she's in the hospital, there wouldn't be anything we need to worry about. And Elena is, at first she's like, well, I don't know, and then Bonnie actually insists, like, no, I want Damon to do this. And Damon's like, okay, well, if you really want me to do that for you, does that mean like you and I are like at a truce now? Are we friends? And she's like, no, I still hate you, but you're gonna do it anyway for Elena. So now everybody knows that Damon has a crush on Elena, and if y'all will remember, Damon does think he kissed Elena, but he didn't. He kissed Catherine. So speaking of that moment, Bonnie leaves, and Elena's kind of like, oh, well, and Damon stops her, and he's like, we really need to talk about what happened. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, the thing on the porch? And she's like, Damon, what are you talking about? What thing on the porch? And he's like, we kissed, Elena. And she's like, no, we didn't. I was with Stefan. I didn't kiss you. And Damon is like, oh no. He realizes that he kissed Catherine, but now Elena thinks that he thinks they kissed, which means he tried to kiss Elena, so that's gonna have consequences for all 3 of them. At the Gilbert house, Stefan stayed home to watch over Jeremy and make sure he was doing okay, and Elena comes home from the hospital and she hugs Stefan and he gives her a big hug, and then immediately homie's like, whoa, this is not Elena. So Damon touched her and got all up in her personal space and kissed her without realizing, and Stefan immediately is like, this is a rat, this is Catherine. So he freaks out and she's like, wow, you figured it out faster than Damon did, ha ha ha. I hate Catherine. So they get into a little tussle, and then because Catherine is older and therefore stronger than him, she does get away right as Damon and Elena are coming home. And then Stefan is like, whoa, what is going on? And Elena's like, what happened in here? And Damon's like, Catherine happened. And then Stefan finds out that Damon kissed who he thought was Elena, and Elena's all like, I would never do that, Stefan. I pick you. Okay, Damon, leave me alone. And Damon's like, yeah, okay. And Stefan is like very annoyed that Damon kissed her. He's like, how dare you do that, my bro? That was not cool. Caroline wakes up and she's doing great. Matt and Bonnie are there with her at the hospital still, so they have like an emotional, really sweet reunion where Bonnie cries. And I love moments like that because Bonnie and Caroline tend to have like a lot of issues, but right at this point in the show, Bonnie is really leaning on Caroline because she's had to pull away from Elena a little bit. So I think their relationship got stronger during the like Elena-Bonnie issue situation, and now that Caroline's better, Bonnie's like, yes, my best friend is still alive, I'm so happy, nothing could possibly go wrong. Tyler, whose dad died at the end, remember the fire situation, the mayor was killed, Tyler's uncle Mason comes to town. He just shows up, he's got a Jeep, he's got cool, funky, like, longish hair, he's like in a hoodie, you know, he's like a cool guy from California, and Tyler's excited to see him, and Mason basically just shows up for the funeral and is like, I'm here to be there for my nephew, and I love you guys, I'm sorry my brother died. He is nothing like the mayor, okay? Everything we knew about Mayor Lockwood, Mason Lockwood, very different. Elena and Stefan visit John in the hospital, and he's fine. He makes a full recovery. He doesn't want to talk to them, and he basically is like, Elena, this is disgusting that you're with Stefan. Stefan, you're terrible and awful, and I hate you, and I'll never tell you guys anything. And Elena is like, you know, John, you're gonna die alone because you hate everyone, and you can't see the good in people, so screw you. And she leaves. And that's her dad, you know, so we call him Uncle John, but that's Elena's bio dad. So she leaves, and then Stefan is like, you don't want to die? You don't care about dying? Well, whatever. And then Stefan is like, scary Stefan, and he turns on his like evil face and he grabs John and he's like, you don't care about dying? Well, whatever, I know what you do care about. And then he forces John to drink some of his blood and threatens to kill him if he doesn't tell him what's going on. So Stefan has snapped a little bit now that Catherine's in town. So John is kind of immediately like, okay, please don't turn me into a vampire, And he basically says, like, look, I never talked to Catherine directly. She didn't trust me. I don't know what she wants. I wasn't lying. I just don't like you. Please leave me alone. So Stefan leaves. At the funeral for the mayor, Caroline's mom kind of gives us a little bit of expo about Mason, and she says, like, you know, he's the mayor's younger brother, he's kind of like wayward, and he's never really followed the rules of the town. He hasn't lived in town for a while, he doesn't want anything to do with the council, so like, yeah, he knows some stuff, but he's not involved and isn't really a threat or somebody that needs to be like brought in as an ally. She's just like not really worried about him being back in town. And then Tyler, who's a freaking idiot, just invites curly-headed Elena, who's actually Catherine, into the house. So now Catherine has access to yet another one of the houses in Mystic Falls. Bonnie and Damon have another little feisty talk about how he wishes they could be friends, and she's basically like, yeah, but I hate you and I don't trust you and I will kill you the second I have a reason to do it. And then she bumps into Elena, who's actually Catherine, and because Bonnie's a witch, the second that she like touches Catherine Elena, she realizes that like, whoa, that's wrong. She calls Elena on the phone and is like, where are you? And Elena's like, yeah, I'm late, sorry, I'll be there soon. And then Bonnie's like, oh, and before she can say, Catherine's in the house, what's happening? But Elena freaking hangs up on her. She's like, I'll be there soon, and click, the phone's on. So then Catherine shows up, and Bonnie's like, oh, this is not good. And Catherine's like, hi, little Bennett, like, how are you? I'm gonna kill you now. And then Bonnie tries to use the aneurysm spell on Catherine. It works for a second, and then Catherine starts laughing because she's much stronger than the other vampires, so that's not gonna work for her. Then Stefan shows up while they're fighting, and he's like, Catherine, no. And Catherine's like, okay, my bad. And she just like immediately stops the second like Stefan says anything, which is suspicious because she does whatever she wants. Catherine and Stefan end up having a talk once Bonnie leaves the room, and they like, she just toys with him. Like, they kind of flirt back and forth, but it's obvious that like he's trying to manipulate her into telling what she wants, and she kind of just enjoys that he's flirting with her and manipulates him back, and nothing gets done. There's gonna be a lot of that in these first couple episodes of season 2 where it's just like dangling what could be coming, but nobody wants to tell what's going on because then we wouldn't have 22 episodes per season, now would we? Stefan also says, I was never in love with you. You compelled me to love you, and that doesn't count. He's like super mean to her, which is not a good idea because she is so unhinged. And like the second you poke her a little bit and she feels like even the slightest bit of threat, like she smells anything nefarious, she's just gonna kill everyone you love without question. Like she is not to be trifled with, and Stefan is trifling, okay? So Catherine insists, she's like, but I do love you, Stefan, and that's why I'm here. I'm here for you. And he's like, no girl, you're not. It can't be that simple. Tell me what you really want. And she's like, you, Stefan, I'm here for you. She wants a whole enemies to lovers plot line, and Stefan's just not giving it to her. He very much is just like, we're gonna stay enemies. And she's like, we can't be enemies if I love you. Sorry. Oh, then we get a scene where Damon and Elena talk about the kiss situation, and Damon is very much just like, girl, you thought I would care about that? I could care less. I don't care. And Elena's like, no, actually you care a lot, and that's why I'm concerned, because when you get hurt, you pretend like you aren't hurt, then you lash out and do something stupid, so please don't do that. And he's like, I'm not going to, don't worry about it. You know, I'm just upset that, you know, it wasn't you, and you know, it is what it is, and I don't want you to be mad at me about that. And she's like, I'm not mad at you for kissing me, Damon. I'm mad at you for thinking that I would kiss you back. And then Damon goes, ugh. Now I'm hurt. Me too, buddy, me too. Jeremy and Tyler bond over the fact that they both have dead dads, and it's really cute. Once they get around to being friends, I like their friendship because they do have a lot in common, and they tend to lash out in similar ways, and I think that's why they clash so much in the beginning, but they do start to become friends starting now that the mayor's dead. So then Damon, having not got a rise out of Elena, goes to Stefan and is like, aren't you mad at me for kissing Elena? Wouldn't it be funny if we like fought to the death over Elena? Let's fight, Stefan. I need to get my energy out. Boom, boom, let's fight. And Stefan's like, no, I'm not gonna fight you. And Damon's like, that's no fun. I kissed your girlfriend. Please attack me. I need to be punished for my crimes. And Stefan's like, why would I do that? I'm not mad at you for feeling something, Damon. You feel something for Elena. That's why you kissed her. Like, I'm not worried. I'm not threatened. She doesn't like you back, so it wasn't her, but good for you. Stefan goes all like holier than thou about this, where he's like, I'm not going to be upset with you, Damon. I'm just not. And you should be, bro. And also you were like 24 hours ago, and now you're like, Catherine's going to put us against each other. We can't give her what she wants. It's too late. Jeremy has a sad moment where he asks Uncle John why the ring didn't protect their dad from dying in the car accident, and John is like, because it was a car accident, homie. The ring only protects you from supernatural deaths, so attacks from supernaturals or like certain situations that you can get into, it could save you from, but if you just die in a car accident because you drove off a bridge and landed in the water, you're out of luck, my pal. You're just dead. And then also Jeremy says like, I don't want to kill vampires. That's not what I want for my life. And Uncle John is like, too freaking bad. You're a Gilbert. Get ready for it. The family history is coming for you. Tyler has a full meltdown about his dad dying, and his mom kind of tries to intervene. He freaks out and like pushes her, and he's been drinking, but also he's like much bigger than his mom, so it really scares her. I don't think she falls on the floor. She like falls into the couch or something, but it's not good. It's a little moment of like physical violence, and Uncle Mason shows up and is like, whoa, 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 we are not doing that. He kind of goes like full alpha mode and like grabs Tyler and like throws him down on the ground while his mom is watching, and she's like, no, don't hurt him. And Mason's like, cool it, Tyler, calm down, Tyler, enough. And Tyler's like, okay, I'm fine. Mason also explains to Tyler like these outbursts that he feels are pretty normal for the Lockwood men, and Mason's come home to like kind of check on him, make sure he's doing okay emotionally, and help him through it. That's why Mason's back in town. Catherine shows up at the Salvatore house to say goodbye to Damon because she didn't get what she wanted from Stefan, so she goes after him next. And they kind of have this like, they have a weird altercation where they flirt a little bit, but Damon's very like pushing her away. Then they end up kissing anyway. And this whole scene is like, definitely he's sad over what happened with Elena. He has missed Catherine, and remember, Damon genuinely loves Catherine. So despite everything she's done, he loves her, and now she's back, and he thought she was gone. So they kiss, and then it's kind of like maybe something's gonna happen. It's getting a little steamier. Damon stops them, and she's immediately like, ugh, really? And Damon's like, okay, 1 second, hold on. I have to ask you something, okay? You answer this question correctly, and I am yours. We can pretend like none of this happened. I will just be with you again because I love you so much, okay, Catherine? And before he can finish, she's like, stop. Just be quiet. I know what you need to know. And the answer is, I never loved you. It's always been Stefan. So you guys remember when Damon was like, I'm not going to go off the deep end because of Catherine? That's not going to happen. So Damon goes to Elena, and he's a little drunk. He's riled up from the Catherine encounter, and he's basically like, I know you're lying about the kiss. I know that you feel something for me, and I can prove it. And he kisses her, and like, he shouldn't do that, but Elena doesn't freak out. She's just like, okay, stop. She's very gentle with him. She like pushes him back, and she's like, we are friends, and you're hurting, but I love Stefan, so you have to stop, okay? I love Stefan, and she is not, like, she could be so much harsher with him, but what I love about Damon and Elena is that she understands him so much, so she doesn't view this as like, it's not creepy, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like most situations where a guy like forces a kiss, you're like, oh, that's terrible, never do that again. And like, he shouldn't do it, but the reasons why he's doing it, Elena understands all of that, and it's coming from a place where like, he really does love her, and like, want to be with her, but she's with Stefan, so they can't happen. So she stops him and everything, and instead of calming down, Jeremy comes into the room, and Damon is like, oh, well, what's up, Jeremy? You want to be a vampire so bad? You want to be a vampire, Jeremy? And he like grabs Jeremy pretty much out of nowhere, and Elena's like, stop, what are you doing? And he's like, he wants to be a vampire so bad, I'll give him what he wants. He freaking snaps Jeremy's neck, y'all. So then Jeremy falls down on the ground, and Elena's like, what? And Damon's just like staring at them, breathing heavily, and then he leaves. So then Elena's left there on the floor of her bedroom with her dead brother, and she's holding him, and she sees the ring on his finger. So he's got John Gilbert's ring now. And Elena's like, oh, thank God, okay. So it's fine. Jeremy's gonna be okay. When Stefan comes over to like be a part of this, he's like, okay, he must have seen the ring, like he didn't mean it, he knew that Jeremy would come back, he just, you know, he wasn't thinking clearly, blah blah blah. And Elena is having none of that BS. She's like, absolutely not, I hate him now, I'm done, Damon is dead to me, I will never forgive him for this, he crossed all the lines possible. The hospital, Caroline's in bed, and Elena shows up to say hi to her, and Caroline is like, it's really late at night, Elena. What are you doing here? Well, she's not doing anything there because it's Catherine. And Catherine says to Caroline, I have a message for the Salvatore boys. Tell them I said, game on. And then she smothers Caroline with a pillow. Remember when Damon said that no harm would come from him giving Caroline blood? Caroline wakes up in the hospital. She is now a changing vampire. She steals a blood bag because she's starving, and she drinks it, and at first she's kind of like, that's really gross, but then she keeps drinking it. Did you miss the events? I know you did, because I did. We had a whole episode without an event, but don't worry, now the town is throwing a carnival. Okay, so Bonnie and Elena are trying to make the carnival happen for Caroline, and Elena, they talk about Catherine coming back and how weird it is that Elena and Catherine look so much alike, and then Elena makes a really timely joke about how it's so hard to, you know, go to school and do the carnival and all these extracurriculars, and how does Caroline do it? And Elena's like, oh, it's because she's not human. Duh. Stefan talks to Jeremy about the vampire situation. He gives him a little bit more vervain, which was a little confusing because Elena had already given him vervain. It's fine. He also explains about how to kill them and the whole staking situation. And Jeremy's like, you know, you really must trust me. You're giving me a lot of info about how to kill you. And Stefan's like, yeah, well, I'll kill you first. Don't be an idiot, little Gilbert, okay? Once again, Elena and Stefan have a conversation about how wouldn't it be fun to just be normal teenagers? This is like the third time they've tried to do that, and it's never worked before, but for some reason they try again. Damon is helping the council kind of figure out what's going on with the vampire situation, what happened with the mayor, and the mayor's wife is going to step into interim mayor while they work to fill that position. So she decides that the best person to be head of the council for the foreseeable future is Damon. Good for him. She makes the decision with Damon to keep Mason out of the council. She's like, look, he never cared about the council before when he was here and we tried to include him. I don't see why we should include him now. That just seems silly. After like realizing that Mason and Tyler have come home, he listens in on their conversation, and they're basically just having another talk about how the aggression like is hard for them to deal with, but exercising seems to help. But Tyler's like, yeah, you know, I work out all the time, I go running, and I will say, just a brief interlude, I love and appreciate that Tyler does work out on screen, because 90% of these, all of them, they're all just like so jacked, okay? That's like the point of the men in this show, is that they're gorgeous. But Tyler, yes, he's freaking so muscular. He works out, and he tells us in this moment with Mason, he's like, I run 3 times a day, I go to the gym twice a day. So like, he's accurate, okay? At least his stuff makes sense, because some of them do nothing. Like Matt does not work out. We never see Matt working out once he leaves school, and yet Matt Donovan, ladies and gentlemen, so muscular. It just annoys me. It's a pet peeve of mine. I know it's just a show, okay? I can't help it. Mason, in this moment, gets really close to telling Tyler what's going on. He legitimately is like, do you ever notice if it's like once a month that you get angry like this? Is it at night? Is the moon full when you're angry? And Tyler just doesn't pick up on any of that. He's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It just, when it happens, I become someone else. Okay, boys. Caroline realizes she can't touch the sun in her hospital room, and that's not good. And Matt comes to visit her, and she's like kind of stuck in her hospital bed, kind of playing with the rays of light. And when he comes in, he's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, no wonder you don't feel good. Let's open up the window. And he opens the window, and she has to like dive out of bed and like vampire step over to the other side of the room. So Matt's like, okay, you know, you don't seem to feel good. I'll come back later. Bye, honey. And she like can't really tell him obviously what's going on, but she also like can't really be near him because she does get the urge to bite him when he gets too close. So he just takes it as like she's feeling funny and he'll check back later, and she takes it as like, I'm gonna kill my boyfriend. She ends up, once she's alone, she tries to put her vervain necklace back on, and it burns her. A nurse comes in and like sees the necklace and is like, oh, that's so pretty, where'd you get it? And she's like, my friend gave it to me, realizing she can't wear it anymore. And then she drinks a little bit more from her blood bag and tells the nurse, like, don't tell anybody about this, I'm so sorry. And then she attacks the nurse and drinks from her. But if you'll remember, okay, Caroline Forbes is a star. As Elena has already told us, she balances 50 million things all at one time, all the time, every single day. So now that she's a vampire, she is like the blueprint for a perfect type A vampire. So she cleans up after herself. She's already using compulsion as if she was just born to do it, okay? And she handles everything with the nurse and gets an early release from the hospital. Stefan tries to talk to Damon about the Catherine situation and kind of gauge how he's feeling. Damon immediately deflects because that's what he's best at, and he tells Stefan instead, hey man, I think the Lockwoods have a family secret. I think something's up with them. We should be suspicious of Mason and Tyler. And Stefan's like, since when? And Damon's like, today. They're hiding something. Tyler catches Mason snooping in his dad's office, and he's like, can I help you, broski? You can't be in here. And Mason's like, oh, I'm just looking for a family heirloom. You know, your dad had it, and I'd like it now. You know, it should go to me. And Tyler's like, well, what is it? What are you looking for? And he's like, oh, you know, it's just like a moonstone for the moon. Moonstone. At the carnival, this episode's event, Bonnie meets a really cute guy named Carter, and I almost said Tyler, named Carter, and they hit it off. Good for her. Mason beats Tyler at an arm wrestling match, and then Damon volunteers Stefan to go after him too. So Stefan and Mason have an arm wrestling match, and then when Stefan loses and comes over to Damon, Damon's like, dude, what the heck? You didn't even try. Like, you just let him win because you don't think I'm right. And Stefan's like, actually, I tried really hard, okay? He's not like vampire strong, but he's strong. Something is going on. And Damon's like, yes, I knew it. I knew it. Damon, because he's terrible, picks Carter out of a crowd and insists that Carter goes after Tyler and picks a fight with him. So I hope you didn't get attached to Bonnie's new friend Carter. Caroline runs into Damon at the school for the carnival, and he's like, what do you want, Blondie? And she's like, screw you. And she's like, Catherine has a message for you. She says, game on. And he's like, what? And then she pushes him down, and he realizes, uh-oh, Blondie's a vampire. That is not good. And then she's like, you suck. And leaves, which, like, she's not wrong, but I love that they don't really cuss on this show, okay? They never really, like, say bad words. Or, like, bad names for each other. So she literally, like, shoves him down in the hallway, and she's just like, you suck. And that is like the dramatic, intense moment, and he's just like, oh god, Blondie's a vampire. Damon goes straight to Elena to tell her what's going on, and they of course bring Stefan in, and Damon's immediately like, you know, we have to kill her. We cannot let Blondie be a vampire. There's no way she'll be able to handle this well. Whereas Stefan is like, oh my god, she's probably so upset and freaking out. And Damon's like, no, 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 she's not scared. She's scary. There's a difference, Stefan. And then Elena is like, you can't kill my best friend. Like, what is wrong with you, Damon? After everything you've done, now you think the answer is kill Caroline. No, I refuse. Carter picks a fight with Tyler as he was meant to, and Mason ends up intervening before anybody can get super hurt. Mason also does like a freaky wolf jump where he like jumps in the air and like Spider-Man leaps down to the other side of Carter, and Tyler also sees his eyes change. So Tyler's like, hey, that was weird. When they get home, he's like, what happened there, my man? And Mason's like, nothing. Like, I take Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu. I'm like really good at martial arts. That is not the same thing, okay? You jumped like 10 feet in the air and landed like Spider-Man on pavement, okay? Something's going on. And Tyler tells him that. And Mason's like, you're overreacting. You don't know what you saw. Leave it alone, Tyler. Be more discreet, Mason. First, you're gonna ask him about the moon, ask him about the moonstone. Now you're gonna pretend like he didn't see you wolf jump? I have no time. Matt gives Caroline a little cuddle at the carnival, and she ends up almost eating him, so she runs off, and she runs into Carter, who is no longer under compulsion because Stefan helped him, but he is still bleeding. So she runs into Carter, he's bleeding. She attacks and kills Carter. I know what you're thinking. It is awful. Wait till Bonnie finds out. It's gonna get worse. The team ends up finding Caroline kind of all at once. Damon gets there first, and he's basically like, I know you didn't mean to kill him, but I do mean to kill you. Goodbye, Caroline. And she's like, whoa, 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 wait, don't kill me. Like, we can work this out. We can make it work. And he's like, no, Blondie, you have to be put down. Stefan and Elena show up and stop it from happening. They go to get Caroline away. Damon rushes her anyway and tries to stake her, but Elena gets in front of her, and so he doesn't do it because obviously he doesn't want to hurt Elena. So then Bonnie shows up and kind of sees what Caroline's done, sees what's happened to Caroline. She's devastated, and she goes into like one of her Bonnie trances where she told Damon if anyone else died in town, she was going to kill him. So she pushes Damon to the ground with the aneurysm spell where she pops his blood vessels, and then she uses the water hose to make fire water, and she lights Damon on fire, and he fully almost barbecues, okay? And Elena is like, whoa, Bonnie, knock it off. And she has to like bodily like jump into Bonnie and like push her to get the connection to break because Bonnie is just about to roast and toast Damon to a crisp. So she stops it, and Bonnie's like, I can't believe you stopped me from doing that. He deserves to die. And Elena's like, no, Bonnie, we are not him. That's what makes us different. We don't kill people. Stefan, meanwhile, takes Caroline to the bathroom to help her clean up, and she is so upset. She's so worried about Bonnie's reaction. She can't believe she killed Carter, and she's just devastated. All of it's like hitting her at once, and Stefan does a really wonderful job of like calming her down, telling her it's all gonna be okay. I love their friendship. Okay, I love it. So they end up like hugging in the bathroom, and she's just sobbing and he's just holding her, and it's so wholesome and so sweet. He's so good at helping other vampires because he is such a bad vampire. So he knows how to make them better somehow. Tyler lied to Mason and knew where the moonstone was. So now that Mason is like giving him a hard time and not telling him whatever the heck just happened with the Spider-Man wolf jumping, he finds the moonstone and is like, I'm keeping this safe. Screw you, Uncle Mason. Damon goes to his house, the Salvatore house. He finds Jeremy there. Jeremy's waiting with a steak, and Damon's like, were you gonna stake me with that? And Jeremy's like, yeah, I was. And then Damon goes to drink an alcohol drink, and Jeremy's like, actually, don't do that. I laced the alcohol with vervain. Nothing is safe. And Damon's like, why are you telling me all of this? And then they like bond over having dads that hated vampires, because Jeremy realizes in that moment that like he doesn't hate Damon enough or vampires enough to just kill Damon for funsies. Matt climbs in Caroline's window to tell her that like he's worried about her because she's been acting so sketch, and he's like, you know, you got me feeling like the stressed out crazy person, and I just want you to know that I love you and I'm all in on this. And now it feels like you're not all in. So what happened? And Caroline is like, oh my God, this is all I've ever wanted and more. So they kiss and make up. And she is a girl boss vampire queen. So we see her while they're hugging. She's like, I'm going to bite Matt. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And she freaking centers herself with breath work. She tones down her freaky eye veins. And she just hugs Matt like it's nothing. I was so proud of her the first time I saw that, okay? And every time since, I get more proud. Elena is somehow at Stefan's house, and he wakes her up, and I don't know why Jenna doesn't know where she is ever, okay? But he wakes her up, and he takes her back to the carnival, and he's like, I called in a favor with the security guy. We have a few minutes. And he flash jumps her, like Spider Monkey style from Twilight, up to the top of the carnival Ferris wheel, and they kiss. And it's cute, but again, it's the two of them being like, we were supposed to have a normal day, and we didn't. Everything went to absolute crap, but, you know, I guess we're better now. You're not. You're not better, and everything's gonna keep going south. So if y'all could just give up, like, oh my God, they're gonna tug of war us with this for a while, and it is just, you know, kiss at the end of the episode. Episode 3's coming, and it's not gonna be good. So the team brings Rick in to try to figure out what's going on with the Lockwoods, and they realize that Isabel wasn't just researching vampires, she was researching everything. So they basically decide that they need to go get Isabel's research from Duke, and they're going to go on a trip to do that. Damon is really confused about considering them to be werewolves, because he's like, they can't possibly be werewolves. I would know about that. I'm 150 years old, and I would know if there were werewolves running around. And everybody's like, you don't know everything, Damon. Tyler is out in the woods. I think he's running, and he stumbles upon like an old cellar near where everybody's been with the church. Stuff's never really laid out perfectly, but like the church is out there, so the tomb is out there, and then where the old Lockwood property is, there's like an underground cellar situation, and he finds like chains dug, like put in the floor, and scratch marks on the walls. And when he asks his mom about it, she's like, oh my gosh, Tyler, we don't talk about the old cellar, you know, we're from the South, you know what happened in the cellar. And Tyler's like, what? And she tries to make it like a slavery situation, which is a different conversation for another day, but Tyler kind of thinks maybe not, because now he's freaking out about his uncle being weird, and we as viewers are like, those were scratch marks, like from claws. Caroline is inadvertently pulling away from Matt because she can't be out in the sun, so she can't go to school, she can't really tell him what's going on, and he's being really sweet about it and trying to like give her space, but also he's getting like increasingly more confused because he just told her that he loved her. Elena, Rick, and Damon head to Duke to get Isabel's research. Stefan's upset that Elena's going with Damon, but he just like lets it go because he needs to stay back and watch Caroline. He ends up going to Bonnie and getting help to make a daylight ring, and he basically says, you know, I take responsibility for Caroline. I'm going to keep her from doing anything wrong. You can trust me to help her, and then you can trust her when she proves herself. When the gang going to Duke gets to Duke, they meet Isabel's research assistant, and she's really sweet. She like says hi to them. She gets them all set up in the office. Then she goes out for a minute. She promptly returns with her own freaking whatchamacallit, crossbow, and she goes to kill Elena, and Damon jumps in front of Elena, so he takes a stake to the back, and then they're like, oh my god, we have to kill her immediately, she's crazy, but she just thought it was Catherine, so she panicked and went to kill her, and then they have to explain, like, no, it's not Catherine, Elena just looks exactly like her, and we don't know why, and she's like, but Damon is actually a vampire, and they're like, yeah, but also Damon's, like, not that big of a deal, like, just calm down, it's okay. We don't end up finding any information about werewolves specifically being in Mystic Falls, but they do find out that there was like an Aztec curse that basically like that's where vampires and werewolves came from. Like they were tormenting each other, everything was bad, and an Aztec shaman put a curse on the vampires so that they were slaves to the sun and could only come out at night, and a curse on the werewolves so that they were slaves to the moon and were cursed to turn once a month. I don't think that's a fair draw, you know, vampires get to keep their powers all the time, but they can't come out in the daytime, and then when they do come out at night on the full moons, the wolves can kill them because it says that a werewolf bite will kill the vampires. You'd think that they would have been like, werewolves are always really strong though and can do stuff at night, but that's not what happens. So vampires are still kind of like the cooler of the creatures, but then werewolves can kill them with one bite, so it's a give and take. Damon is like, how are there no werewolves though? How is this the first time we're hearing about this? And we realize that vampires hunted werewolves basically to extinction. So there's like hardly any of them left, and they're such a small group that they just stick to themselves because the vampires outnumber them now. The girl also explains to Elena that she doesn't really know what's going on with her and Catherine, but they're basically doppelgangers of each other, and she's like, you need to be really careful because normally doppelgangers like try to torment each other and like ruin each other's lives, so Catherine's probably gonna like hate you forever, and there's like no mending that relationship. And Elena's like, we're already there, how much worse can it get? Tyler decides that the best use of his time is to throw a party on the old estate where that old cellar that he found is, and Mason's like, could you please make sure everyone is gone tonight? I would really appreciate it. And Tyler's like, yeah, sure, I'll make sure everyone's out, don't worry. Caroline ends up showing up. She sees a girl named Abby flirting with Matt and like very quickly like zones in on that. And because she's a newly changed vampire, her emotions are all over the place, so she's even more insufferable than she was before. And so she goes up to the girl and she's like, why don't you go flirt with somebody that's single? Go throw yourself at somebody that's single. And she like compels Abby away. And Matt is like, you don't get to just show up after mysteriously being gone all day and ignoring me and then play the jealous girlfriend at night. That's annoying, Caroline. Don't do that. So Stefan has been kind of babysitting Caroline, and when Matt confronts her and is like, don't be the jealous girlfriend, she says to him like, I'm sorry, I'm just feeling stressed, blah, 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 and they make up again. And then they sneak off to go make out in the woods, and in that, while they're sneaking off, Elena calls Stefan and is like, hey, werewolf bites will kill vampires. And he's like, oh god, okay, Mason might be a werewolf, I gotta go get Caroline. Caroline's gone now, Stefan. You turned away for 2 seconds, and she is off hooking up with Matt in the woods. Mason locks himself in the cellar where the party broke up. Tyler was right, and everybody was leaving. But Mason locks himself in the cellar, and then Tyler, who is friggin' stupid, brings that girl who was flirting with Matt to the cellar to hook up with her in the cellar. He's like, come look at this cool, creepy metal thing I found. And And so he brings her down there, and then Mason has to leave. So Mason was chaining himself up, and now he's like wandering through the woods in a lot of pain. He makes it back to his truck and ends up turning in his truck. I don't think we ever, I could be wrong, but I don't think we ever see like the CGI of the human to wolf transformation, but we do see like some body horror with like limbs breaking and stuff. It's pretty gross. It's like your standard, like the body changes into the wolf situation. Super painful, super traumatic. Mason, we don't know how long he's been turning, but he definitely has some experience, and it still is like really traumatic and awful for him. So anyway, he turns into a wolf and pops out of the car. So Mason's a werewolf, confirmed. Tyler is with that girl that Caroline compulsed into flirting with somebody that's single, and they start to hook up, and then she like stops it, and he's like, whoa, what happened? Like, I thought you were into this. She changes her mind. Once again, he's kind of weird and annoying about it, and he's like, are you serious right now? And she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't even know why I'm flirting with you, I actually like Matt. And he's like, okay, get out of my haunted cellar, please. I will not be sleeping with you tonight. And look, I'm just gonna say this because I realized it on my second watch. We're about to get to the Tyler redemption arc, and I would love y'all's opinions on whether or not Tyler is like genuinely a like creepy dude, or if that's just how 2000s men were written. I lean towards he's creepy because not a lot of them act like that in the show, you know? And I feel like that was kind of a normal reaction back in the day on TV, was for men to be like, but you already said yes, meh. And that's where all those attitudes come from. And so that's how Tyler reacts in this moment. And I was watching it again, and I was like, yeah, this is terrible. But is this just written this way, or is Tyler terrible? Let me know your thoughts, because I lean towards Tyler's terrible, and his character doesn't make sense, because very soon we're going to be sympathizing with him, and it will never not annoy me. Mason attacks Stefan, but thankfully they kind of tussle for a second, and then Stefan gets away, and Mason does not bite him. Damon, while they're leaving Duke, Damon gives Elena a book about Catherine's family history, and she's like, but we didn't find anything linking us together. And he's like, yeah, I don't think you looked hard enough. Also, Catherine's real name is Katerina Petrova. She's from Bulgaria. Maybe that will help you find something. And then when she goes to take it from him, he like holds it back, and he's like, are we ever going to be friends again, or are you going to be mad at me forever? Because I really love you, and I don't want you to be mad at me forever, and I really hate that I ruined this, and please tell me, is there anything I can do? And she like brushes him off because he killed her brother in front of him, and he deserves to suffer. Matt and Caroline end up getting freaky in the woods. He cuts his hand, and she can't help herself, so she starts drinking the blood on his hand, and he is like, that is disgusting. Please stop. She can't stop. She bites him. She is drinking from Matt when Stefan shows up and is like, we have to get out of here. Werewolf in the woods. We have to leave. And she's like, oh my God, okay. The wolf shows up, and then they lead it away from Tyler, or they lead it away from Matt. So they're running through the woods. The wolf is chasing them. They run into Tyler, and then Caroline gets attacked by the wolf. It's like on top of her, attacking her. Before it can bite her, Tyler is like, no, don't do that. And the wolf listens to him and leaves. Caroline compels Matt to forget what happened, and that's kind of like a turning point for her, where she realizes she thought she had perfect control and she could handle everything, but maybe it's not safe for Matt to be with her. Tyler doesn't get compulsed. They never really explain that, whether or not Stefan tried to use compulsion and it didn't work, or if Stefan just like forgot about Tyler and he got away. But he gets back to Mason's truck, sees that it's been like, you know, exploded because a wolf transformation happened inside of it. And then Mason shows up, and he is naked and covered head to toe in dirt. And he's like, can I have my pants? And Tyler's like, oh my God, it was you. You were the wolf. What? And Mason just brushes him off. He acts like it's not a big deal. He's like, I don't want to talk to you about this, Tyler. And Tyler's like, sir, you were a wolf. You're a werewolf. We have to discuss this. And Mason's like, no, I don't want to. Sorry. So Caroline sees Matt flirting with that girl at the Grill. He's not flirting with her. She's definitely flirting with him. She shows up and makes a big scene again because she's come to that realization that they probably can't be together. So even though we just got a love confession from Matt, Now they break up for real because she realizes it's not safe for them to be together. Rick goes to Jenna and he kisses her and it is amazing, okay? That actor is a creep, but him and Jenna together, I love that for them. So they kiss. They are officially a couple now. Elena asks Damon for the truth about the Jeremy situation, and she's like, did you know he was wearing his ring? I want a yes or no answer. And Damon's like, no, I didn't. I got lucky. I don't know what I would do if he hadn't been wearing the ring. Like, that would have really sucked. And Elena's like, yeah, it would have sucked, Damon. And it sucks more that we're never going to be able to be friends now because I'll never be able to trust you and it's over. We're done. We're not friends. Catherine goes to Caroline at the end of the episode and is like, what's up, Blondie? We're going to be best friends now. You work for me. Okay, in an even more chaotic turn of events, my camera died. So now we're filming on my iPhone. I think it's going to be okay. Hopefully, if nothing else, the quality's just a little different, but the audio is still good. We are crossing our fingers. I want this video filmed today before the sun goes down, okay? Anyway, episode 4. Stefan has like a dream where he's with Catherine and then he's with Elena and then Damon's with Elena and then Catherine is like, it's always been me and you, Stefan. It's us forever. And he wakes up panicking and then he's got Elena in bed with him and he's like, oh, whoa. And she's like, oh, did you have a bad dream? Are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Go back to sleep. Surprise. It's not Elena, it's Catherine. And she did the little vampire head dive thing to give him a freaky dream. And she has curly hair. Okay, like you'd think they would keep up because she's got curly hair, Elena has straight hair. That's how we know who's who. But the boys just seem to be like, face same, face is same, character's same. No one seems to pick up on the hair situation. Not yet, at least. Damon makes a plan and sets it up with Jenna to get her to throw a barbecue so that they can invite Mason over and kind of like get more info on him and find out like what's the werewolf situation, what's going on with that, how do they stop him, that kind of stuff. Catherine gives Stefan some information about the Lockwoods, and she's basically like, the Lockwoods were the family that were on the council back in the 1800s that made the plan to get rid of the vampires. And he's like, so all the Lockwoods are werewolves? And she's like, no, the gene runs in the family, but they're not all wolves, but it can happen to them. In this little moment with Stefan, Catherine is like, I know you came back to fall in love with me, Stefan, and now we're together. Now we can be together, Stefan. Gross. But he ends up like touching her face and falling for it and being like, what is it about you that I just can't say no to you? And then he goes to kiss her and he stabs her with a vervain needle. You thought he was about to cheat on Elena, didn't you? Nope. One thing about Stefan, I don't think he cheats on anybody in this show. So he does have that going for him, if nothing else. He actually ends up locking Catherine up and torturing her to get information out of her because he wants to know why she came back to town. And she keeps saying, it's because I love you, Stefan. I came back for you. And he's like, I do not believe you, you lying snake. Tell me what's true. And it's not good. It gets kind of gross. It gets pretty gory, all right? Stefan kind of snaps. In a flashback scene, Catherine explains to Stefan that she knew George Lockwood in the 1800s. They kind of met at that founding family party. You know, they do it every year. And she confronted him and was like, I know you're a werewolf, George, and I know you know what I am, so I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you get rid of the vampires, and you're going to give me something in return. And he's like, okay, George Lockwood, you know, is like, okay, cool, we can work together. That sounds good if it means we get rid of the vampires. And she's like, yeah, absolutely, we can do this together. She also tells Stefan that his love for her was real. He was under the assumption that he had been compelled the entire time to love her, but actually he fell in love with her first, and then she had to compel him later because he was so scared of her once he found out she was a vampire that he had to compel her. Whereas Damon knew she was a vampire and loved her anyway because he does not care about his lady friend's secrets, okay? He's gonna love them no matter what, because that's the kind of man Damon is. Stefan is a little baby who was like, you're a vampire? Ah! And ran away from her. At the barbecue where Damon and Rick are trying to get Mason to like admit that he's a werewolf, I don't really know what their plan was, but they basically just keep making innuendo jokes about Mason knowing Damon's a vampire and Damon knowing Mason is a werewolf. Back and forth, banter, banter, banter. Damon tries to get Mason to use a silver serving knife to like get the pie out of the pie tin. And Mason is like, oh, I don't need a serving knife. And he just picks up the pie with his hands. Like he just scoops in and picks it up. My friend Michael is not going to see this video, but we had this happen once at my fiance's birthday party where Michael ate cake with his hands, and that was all I could think when I was watching this scene. It was so funny. But he like picks it up and then he's like, sorry guys, I'm an animal. And Damon and Rick are both just like, you are? Like, good Lord, guys. Caroline's also at the barbecue, and when Elena wants to go check on Stefan because he's not answering the phone because he's torturing Catherine, Caroline's like, oh my god, you don't have to go see him. It's okay. Don't be the jealous girlfriend. Like, don't do that. And Elena is like, I don't think, like, I need to go check on him. I need to know he's okay. So Caroline's like, okay, I'll drive you. No problem. I will drive you. I'll get you there. Don't worry about it. And then when they go to get in the car, Caroline pops the valve on the car tire so that it's going to run down. Mason tells Damon that he's not trying to hurt Damon and Stefan. He doesn't care that they're vampires. He's not interested in battling it out, okay? And he's like, if you can just cool it and drop this whole are you a dog situation, like, yes, surprise, I'm a werewolf, big shocker. Leave me alone and I'll leave you alone, broski. Now, show of hands. Who thinks Damon leaves it alone? Caroline and Elena break down because Caroline sabotaged the car. And then Elena is like, where's the tow person? You called them forever ago. Why aren't they here? And Caroline's like, oh, I don't know why you care so much about going to Stefan. And then she goes on this whole tirade about how Elena is a stupid, dumb human and she should just give up on Stefan and let him be with somebody else. And she should just give up. She should just give up. She should stop trying. She should stop caring about him. Screw Stefan. They should break up. And Elena is like, are you my friend or like not? Because right now you're acting like a total psycho and you need to like bring it down to like a 4 and cool it. And Caroline's like, I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just telling you how it is. You just don't want to hear the truth. And Elena's like, get the tow truck on your own. I will walk to Stefan's house. If you said Damon absolutely won't leave it alone, he'll screw this up one way or another, you would be correct because he goes after Mason Lockwood with a big old silver like steak knife situation and Mason is fine. So he gets stabbed and then he pulls the silver out of him and he's like, I don't know who came up with that lie, but it's not true. Now you made an enemy. And Damon's like, yikes, I should have left it alone. Yeah, buddy, you should have. You had one job. Catherine snaps on Stefan and she's like, if you don't leave Elena alone and get her out of your life, I will kill everyone she loves and make her watch. And then I will kill her and make you watch, which is just not the way to get your enemies to lovers situation to go about, homie. You could just cool it and wait until Elena dies. Spoiler alert, she's a human. He's got like maybe 60, 70 years with her. You're an immortal vampire. If you love him so much, you should be able to wait. But Catherine does break out of the chains that he was holding her with, and she's like, I've been dosing myself with vervain little by little each day for years because when your dad turned me in, it was by getting you to drink vervain and it got in your blood and I never wanted that to happen to me again, and it never will, Stefan. So I've been faking it the whole time. This whole time you've been torturing me, I was just playing a little game so we could hang out for longer. She's so weird. Elena comes home, so Catherine stakes Stefan in the leg so that he can't immediately get up and follow her. And she goes upstairs and meets Elena. And we have this weird scene where they're looking at each other. And it's so, every time they're in scenes together, I'm like, oh, I hate this. It's weird because it's literally just Nina playing the same person. So they're just perfectly identical copies of each other. And Catherine is like, Elena's like, how do we look alike? We look so similar. What's going on? And Catherine's like, you're asking the wrong questions. But she leaves without hurting Elena. She doesn't do anything to her. Mason comes home and Tyler kind of jumps on him and is like, tell me what's going on. Why do you want the moonstone? Here's the moonstone. And Mason is like, give it to me. I know you have it. Give me the thing. It's not a game. And Tyler's like, I'll give you the moonstone if you tell me what triggers the curse? Like, how do I not turn into a werewolf? What's going on? And Mason is like, dude, I don't want you to know, because once you know, you won't be able to focus on anything else. It will take over your life and you will be miserable. And Tyler's like, I have a right to know my own history. Tell me what's going on. So Mason is like, you have to kill somebody. You have to take a human life and then you're stuck as a werewolf forever. Is that what you wanted to know, Tyler? And Tyler is horrified. Stefan and Elena have an argument at the grill where Stefan is basically like, you know, I think we need to break up. I think something's wrong. I think Catherine is going to hurt you. I can't keep you safe. We have to break up. And Elena is like, Stefan, what are you talking about? We can be together. We can do this. Like, we've done it before. It'll be okay. We can't let her come between us. And she's like, Stefan says, actually, she already has, Elena. So they separate. But then when Elena gets home, all hung up about breaking up with Stefan, Stefan's there in her room and they talk about the fact that Caroline was listening into them at the grill. And Elena is like, this freaking sucks. I knew she was acting weird, but I was really hoping that it wasn't because she was working with Catherine, but she is. And Stefan's like, look, we know Caroline, that she's got to have something on her, like something must be going on. She wouldn't be doing this just because, you know, she doesn't like us, because that's not true. So they basically made this plan for Caroline to hear them have a fight so that hopefully Catherine will like leave them alone. And then Stefan's like, you know, we're going to figure out why she's really here. Don't worry, Elena. We're going to figure it out and we'll get rid of Catherine and it'll be okay, because there's no way she's here for me, okay? It's just not possible. Well, then we get a flashback from the night of the fire when Catherine, you know, didn't die and the boys turned into vampires. And we see her go to Stefan and give him like a little cuddle and say that she loves him and it's always been him and she'll be back for him one day. Gag. So Damon's just in the street next to him, dead, and she could give two shits. Like, she doesn't care about Damon at all. She never has. Episode 5 is a Mason flashback. We find out that he triggered his curse because he was out drinking at a bar with his friends, and one of his like very close friends attacked him and was like, you're sleeping with my girlfriend. And they got into a really big fight in the parking lot and the guy would not stop. So Mason like picked him up and threw him down. And when he threw him down, the guy like hit his head on the concrete and dies in front of people. So it's a self-defense killing. Like, I don't know what that would be, but it was not intentional and it was self-defense. So Mason is devastated, but his friend is dead and now he's going to turn into a werewolf. Caroline's mom tries to talk to her about how weird Caroline's been being, and Caroline just like immediately shuts her down. And like, here's the thing. We are supposed to believe, it starts to become clear in this season that we're supposed to believe that Caroline and her mom fight so much because Caroline's mom is literally the sheriff of the town. And Caroline is like, I can't believe you work so much. It's so annoying. You never have time for your family. That's why your husband left you. Like, no, sweetie. Your dad left your mom because he was a closeted gay man who finally realized he needed to be with a man and left her when he fell in love. It's literally that simple. Like, that is as simple as it gets. He was unhappy in the marriage and they got divorced because he wanted something else. But Caroline can't accept that, so she just blames everything on Liz, and that becomes clear during this season. Stefan tries to patch things up with Mason, and Mason is like, yeah, no, your brother is crazy and I'm gonna kill him first chance I get. And Stefan's like, okay, you could do that, you know, but I would like to remind you that there are two of us and one of you, Wolfie, okay? So sit down. And like, Mason's kind of like, yeah, you're right. There are 2v1. I will be quiet. Please don't let him kill me. If he comes at me, I'm coming at him. And Stefan's like, yeah, fair enough. I'm going to keep him in line though. Don't worry. Tyler and Jeremy bond at the grill, and at this point, they're friends. They're homies. They're getting along really well. They hook up with two girls at the grill. Abby, who's the one that was flirting with Matt and then flirting with Tyler. And then the other one's name is Sarah, and she is a Disney Channel girly. She was also in the remake of Mean Girls 2, I think. Mason goes to Liz and is like, I want to join the council. And she's like, I don't know what the council is, Mason. And he's like, yes, you do. And I do too. And I know I denounced all of it. But listen, there are vampires in town right now and I know about them and you don't. And she's like, who? And he's like, Stefan and Damon Salvatore are vampires. And she's like, aha! Damon's not a vampire. Damon has killed vampires. Damon and Stefan walk in the sun. And also Damon's my friend. Don't say that about him. And Mason's like, I can prove it to you, Liz. Great. Elena feeds Caroline more lies about fighting with Stefan and how she's feeling about it. And she just like feeds her all this info about how she's unhappy. And then Stefan and Elena have another very public fight, hoping that that info will get back to Catherine and she'll leave them alone. At Tyler's house, everybody drinks and has a good time. They end up going through Jeremy's sketchbook and they see these pictures of wolves and vampires and demons and things. And Jeremy is kind of like, oh yeah, it's just, you know, stuff I draw for fun, looking at Tyler anxiously. And Tyler pulls him aside and is like, why did you draw wolves? Do you know what's going on? And Jeremy's like, yeah, actually, bro, I do know what's going on. So tough luck, your uncle's a werewolf, but we can be friends still. We can talk about all this. And Tyler's kind of like, thank God somebody else knows. At the barbecue, Damon calls Stefan out on faking the fights with Elena, which is like so annoying because if anybody was listening in, they could easily hear. They're like outside at like a very public gathering. And so they do that. And then Damon accepts a drink of lemonade from a little child. And when he drinks it, he immediately spits it up because there's vervain in it. And Liz is watching. Stefan helps Damon get cleaned up and they agree. Mason's gone too far. He's a threat. He's going to expose them. They have to put him down. So they go after Mason, but then the sheriff and her team show up and shoot the boys and kidnap them. Caroline and Elena track them down because Caroline like saw her mom leaving and realized something was wrong. She like heard Stefan in the woods and was like, oh no. So they all go to the Lockwood cellar since they're in the woods. They go to that convenient new location, okay? So they're all in the Lockwood cellar and Caroline shows up. And Elena attacks first, like Elena goes in and knocks out a guard and then is like, you can't kill Stefan, Liz, don't do it. And then Caroline is like, oh God, okay. So she comes in and do you think that Caroline uses non-lethal force against these guards that work with her mom? No, Caroline kills like 4 different grown men. For no reason other than to save Stefan and Damon, but like that did not have to happen that way. And then she's standing there holding the dead body and she like throws it to the ground and she looks up and she's covered in blood and she's like, hi mom. Girl, there were so many better ways to tell your mom you were a vampire and you went with that one. You thought that was the best way. Once the boys are woken up, Stefan is really weak and not doing good. Damon kind of perks up quicker and he says to everybody, okay, well now we have to kill Liz. And Caroline's like, no, you can't kill my mom. And Elena's like, Damon, don't even joke about it. It's not funny. So Damon's like, okay, you're right. We could just kidnap her and wait for the vervain to come out of her system. And then we can compel her and let her go. So that becomes the plan that they're going to go with. Tyler ends up owning up to everything to Jeremy. He tells him about the curse. He tells him that Uncle Mason came home for the moonstone. He doesn't think he cares about him at all because Jeremy's like, oh, so your uncle came home to like talk to you about everything. And Tyler's like, no, he doesn't want to tell me the truth. He doesn't want me to know anything. He thinks I'm better off not knowing. He only came home for the moonstone. Once he gets it, you know, he's not gonna be my friend anymore. The girls end up coming in and like take the moonstone and that upsets Tyler and he's like, hey, give it back, that's not funny. But everybody's been drinking, so it turns into this little like toss it back and forth, he said, she said situation. And then Tyler accidentally pushes Sarah down the stairs. Don't worry, she doesn't die, she's fine. But she does go tumbling down the stairs and for a split second, Jeremy and Tyler are like, oh my God, Tyler's about to become a werewolf. Ah! But it doesn't happen, it's okay. Liz is locked up in the Salvatore house and she requests to not see Caroline because she's like, that's not my daughter anymore. I don't want anything to do with her. Damon is talking to Liz and he can see Caroline outside the cellar door. And he's like, Liz, you have no idea how wrong you are. Like, don't say that. Like, you need to talk to your daughter. And Liz is like, no, absolutely not. I don't have a daughter anymore. She's dead to me. Stefan is considering taking a little bit of human blood every day, the way that Catherine took her vervain, and Elena freaks out and she's like, you absolutely cannot be trusted to do that. My answer is no. Caroline tells Elena that Catherine was making her do what she wanted because Catherine had threatened Matt. And Elena was like, I knew it. I knew she had to have something on you. We forgive you, Caroline. Everything's fine. Tyler tells Mason that he wanted Sarah to die. He was like, when she fell, I was like, oh, here it comes. I'm gonna get the curse. I'm gonna get this power. I'm gonna be special. And he's like, I never ever want to feel that way again. So take the moonstone. I'm done with this. So he gives Mason the moonstone. Dana tells Damon that she's thankful that he saved Caroline's mom. And she's like, that's the Damon that I want to be friends with. That's who my friend was. And he's like, okay, well, friend to friend, Stefan needs to be drinking human blood, and you know it, so get it together and tell him that he can do that. And Elena decides that if Stefan's gonna drink human blood, it can't be from a blood bag. No. It needs to be her blood. She's like, it's you and me, Stefan. We're in this together. We're always together. So Stefan's gonna drink human blood every day, little bit by little bit, to build up his tolerance, and the human's blood that he's gonna be drinking is Elena. Yay! You are so not ready for this, but the final scene of the episode is Mason getting into a car with Catherine. What? Did you see that one coming? So they're in a car together, and we see that night that he killed his friend from the beginning of the episode, yep, you see where this is going, Catherine was there with him. And she's like, Mason, what happened? And he's like, oh my God, he wouldn't stop coming at me. I killed him. It was an accident. And Catherine's like, yes, my evil plan worked. I'm so excited. Now I have a werewolf boyfriend. Episode 6 opens with Elena and Stefan cuddled up in bed. They're in her house this time, which, you know, how does Jenna not know? I don't know, but she doesn't. So they're being a cute couple in the morning, and then it cuts to Catherine in bed with Mason, and they're also hooking up, which is so creepy on so many levels. She's clearly lying to him. She wants the moonstone. She's glad that he finally got it, and he's like, okay, honey, I'm gonna meet you tonight, and I will bring it, I promise. And she's like, yay! Jeremy goes to Damon with info about the moonstone and Mason and Tyler and everything he learned the day before, and he wants to help. And Damon's like, does Elena know you're here? And Jeremy's like, no, but I'm not a little kid. I'm a freshman in high school, and I deserve to be treated with respect. And Damon's like, yeah, all right, bro, valid. You can help us. They end up consulting Isabel's research with Rick, and they realize that Mason's probably after the moonstone to break the moonstone and break the curse on the werewolves. Because if you'll remember, you know, all the stuff last season with Emily Bennett's necklace, magic in this world is like connected to the objects that you use for the spell. So if you've got the moonstone, and that's what the curse on the werewolves was put into the moonstone, if you can break the curse on the object, then the curse will be broken. Theoretically, that's how it usually works. Tyler's mom is helping set up for a masquerade ball, so we're gonna get that in the next episode, which is a lot of fun. I love the masquerade. Jenna is there helping with that, and when she sees Stefan, she's like, oh, Stefan, I'm cooking dinner tonight. You should come hang out and have dinner with us. And he's like, oh, Jenna, did you not know? Elena and I are broken up. And Jenna's like, oh, that's not what it sounded like this morning in the bedroom. Yeah, I'm a light sleeper. I've known the whole time. Ha ha ha. So all those jokes I've made about Jenna not knowing things, surprise, surprise, she's known all along. Caroline's mom is still super upset about Caroline being a vampire. She just keeps brushing her off. She doesn't want to see her. She doesn't want to talk to her. So their relationship, where Caroline's mom was usually the one trying to initiate contact, now she's gone like radio silent. She's like, leave me alone. I want nothing to do with you. You're dead and I don't like you anymore. Bonnie is really weirded out by everything going on with Caroline, and so Elena ends up just telling Bonnie everything. Like, she explains the whole situation with Catherine using Caroline, and Elena and Stefan fake fighting to get Caroline upset and tell Catherine and all of that. And Bonnie gets upset because she's like, I'm not even mad that you like kept this from me. I'm mad that I didn't even realize you guys were fake fighting. Like, I didn't even know something was wrong. What's happened to us? Which, this is what I'm talking about when I say that these kind of things annoy me, because just an episode or two ago, Bonnie was like, I can't be as close to you anymore, Elena, because it's too hard. And now she's like, so we're just not close anymore, Elena? This sucks. And it just starts to get kind of annoying and redundant because they just go back and forth, wishy-washy, wishy-washy. They want one thing, and then the next 30 minutes, they don't want it anymore. Bonnie bumps into Mason and her witchy vision stuff happens, and she's like, Stefan, why was Elena kissing Mason? And Stefan's like, Elena? Oh, it wasn't Elena. So at least, you know, one of the brothers is smart sometimes. Elena tries to intervene on Jeremy helping with everything, and he basically tells her to F off, and he's like, I can do what I want. I am a very important high school freshman, and I'm in charge of my own destiny, Elena. Leave me alone. And then Tyler and Jeremy talk, and Tyler tells Jeremy, you can't have the Moonstone. I can't show it to you again because I already gave it to Mason. Sorry. And so then Jeremy's like, shoot, Damon and Stefan are gonna have to get involved, and they do, and with Bonnie's help, they kidnap Mason. And so Bonnie is thinking they're just kidnapping him to get the Moonstone. Inadvertently, Bonnie helps them do something much worse, but we'll get to that. Caroline tries to have a heart-to-heart with her mom where she tries to tell her everything she's been going through, but once again, Liz doesn't want anything to do with her, and she just can't handle it. And she's like, you have to just leave me alone. Like, I can't deal with the fact that you are a vampire. I just can't take it. Bonnie figures out that the Moonstone is in a well in the woods, once again, like on the old Lockwood property, and she goes after it, and then Caroline sees her leaving and is like, oh, can I go with you? And at first Bonnie's like, no, absolutely not. You can't come with me at all. And then she kind of has like a moment of weakness where she misses Caroline too. So she's like, yeah, okay, you can come with me. So Bonnie and Caroline go to the well to get the Moonstone. Damon begins to torture Mason to get info about Catherine, and Jeremy is there watching, and he's horrified. Stefan shows up at the well. Elena's also there. They kind of all find out about the well at the same time. So Stefan and Elena get there first, and Stefan's like, all right, well, I'll be right back. I'm just going to jump in and get it. When he jumps in, the water is completely covered with vervain. So he was hiding it. Mason was hiding the Moonstone like from any vampire after it, but also inadvertently from Catherine, which is always interesting to me that he didn't put it somewhere where she could get it. He wanted to be the one to have to get it to bring it to her. Caroline and Bonnie show up. Caroline first because she heard Stefan scream, and then Bonnie shows up a little bit later because she's a human. She's got slower legs. And they work out a plan to like lower Elena down into the thing to get Stefan. They do. He's ultimately fine, but he's, you know, very hurt because he's like sitting in like waist deep vervain water. So they get him out, and then Elena also gets the Moonstone that's in a box. There's also snakes in the water that show up, but we didn't see them when Stefan was in the water. But now that it's just Elena, they show up and they're like, and they try to get her. So she has like a freak out with the snakes, and then they get her out of the water too. Now the girls have the Moonstone. But like I said, Stefan is hurt. So Elena like very immediately like cuts her hand and gives him some blood so he can wake up and be healed. And this is just so much for Bonnie to deal with, okay? They're asking a lot from her. Mason finally cracks under Damon's torture and is like, I'm getting the Moonstone for Catherine because Catherine's gonna break the curse for me because she loves me. And Damon's like, oh, buddy, my pal, you idiot. She doesn't love you. She doesn't care about you at all. She wants that Moonstone for something else, and you were the means to the end. And Jeremy is like, okay, enough, Damon. We know why he's here now. Let's just let him go. Let's be done with this. And Damon's like, Jeremy, you sweet, sweet, stupid human. I'm not letting Mason go. I was never gonna let Mason go. And Jeremy's like, no, you can't kill him. And then Damon is like, he wants me to kill him. He has like a looking in each other's eyes moment with Mason, and it's not really explained. I've always assumed that Damon can like hear Mason's heartbeat or something, and he realizes that like Mason either isn't scared or is kind of excited about it being over, and Damon's basically like, he wants me to kill him. It really is a curse, isn't it? And then he goes to kill Mason, and Mason's like, I love Catherine, and Damon's like, I know, but she's only gonna rip your heart out. Let me do it for her. And he rips Mason Lockwood's heart out. Oh, R.I.P. Mason. I actually really like him as a character, but he's gone now. You can't come back from your heart being ripped out. So Jenna and Rick make dinner and they get a little freaky in the kitchen. And then Elena comes home and Rick is like, sorry, you okay? And Elena's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm gonna go to bed. And Rick's like, perfect. Caroline and Liz talk about the day that Caroline had, you know, all the drama with Stefan in the well and everything. And Liz, for the first time, is just like, who are you? Like, you're so confident. You're so confident and sure of yourself and excited. And I'm so proud of you. Like, just kind of all of a sudden. As I said a few minutes ago, wishy-washy, she loves her daughter again and is wowed by her. And she's like, I won't tell. You don't have to compel me. I won't tell on you. I would never do anything to get you hurt. You're my daughter and I love you and I'm going to keep you safe. And Caroline believes her, but in like a horribly sad moment, she has to make the decision to compel her mom anyway because she's like, I know you won't hurt me, but I don't trust you to not turn on my friends. So we have to just compel you anyway. And it's so sad. Damon, who once again cannot leave well enough alone, calls Catherine, even though Stefan begs him not to do it. And Damon is like, we killed your little boy toy. We killed your little wolf. And honestly, Catherine looks pretty upset about that. She like genuinely has a reaction to that happening. And Damon's like, what are you going to do about it? Dummy, we got the moonstone and we killed your boyfriend. Ha ha. And Catherine is like, okay, all right, you took care of my plan A. Do you really think I'm stupid enough not to have a plan B, C, and D? Like, I run this town, Damon, and I am 8,000 steps ahead of you, and you're an idiot. And Damon's like, I may have made a mistake. Back in Elena's house, Jenna brings the phone up to her, and as Jenna hands over the phone, she's like, oh, yeah, I understand, no problem. She's like, hey, Elena, it's for you. She gives Elena the phone, and Elena is like, hey, what's up? It's Catherine. It's Catherine on the phone, and Catherine explains that, okay, so you figured out that Caroline was listening to me. You thought I wouldn't figure out that all those fights were fake. You thought I wouldn't figure out that you were making out with Stefan in your bedroom. You think I wouldn't have compelled Jenna to tell me everything you do? You think Jenna hasn't been spying? You think it wouldn't be easy for me to just tell Jenna that the world would be better off without her? Oops. And then Jenna in the kitchen stabs herself with a knife. I'm gonna put you out of your misery. Okay, Jenna's fine. She's recovering at the hospital. And in a really big sibling energy moment, if you'll remember, Jeremy just told Elena to F off and stay out of his life. Now he's like, it's okay. We're not gonna lose Aunt Jenna. And they have a big cuddle party, brother-sister cuddle puddle, and it's really sweet. And it's very much sibling energy, okay? To just be hating each other. And then actually we love each other so much. Tyler's mom tells Tyler that Mason left for Florida and he will not be coming back. Tyler's pretty upset by this, and his mom is like, it's okay, buddy. It's just me and you now. Once again, we'll be okay. We'll get through it together. Stefan and Elena decide to break up for real, and I will give them this. This is a good scene, okay? Paul and Nina, they're both crying. Paul is a lip tremble crier. Oh, it gets me every time. It's so emotional. It's so much, okay? But they break up for real because they've realized that like it was stupid to think they could beat Catherine. They can't, and they can't keep everybody safe. And Jenna getting hurt, like nail in the coffin for Elena. So they just decide, we're done. We have to break up for real. It has to be over. Damon, while Elena is leaving the house, Damon tries to apologize to her, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I riled Catherine up. Like, don't break up with Stefan over this. Like, please, like, I'm sorry. Even though he's being presented with Stefan and Elena breaking up, which is what he's wanted, now he's like, oh my God, but not like this. Like, I didn't want her to be this sad. And he realizes it kind of with us on screen. And it's a nice moment for the two of them. But Elena's like, it's over. You know, it's already over. It's already done. I can't do this anymore. I'm backing out. Catherine kidnaps Matt. And she's like, tell me what you're going to do. And Matt, who is under compulsion, is like, I'm going to go after Tyler Lockwood. I'm going to pick a fight with him. And I'm not gonna stop until he kills me. Catherine has Caroline tell Damon and Stefan that if they don't give her the moonstone, she's just going to kill everybody starting at the masquerade ball, because that's going to be at the Lockwood house. It's going to be this whole big thing. She's like, I'll just start killing people left and right unless they give me what I want. Caroline's really scared. Catherine also has a witch friend in town to help her with her evil plan. So now Bonnie is going toe-to-toe with another witch. So Damon and Stefan get Bonnie to help them, and she agrees because Catherine is such a problem. She's like, I can lock Catherine in a room similar to like the tomb spell situation, and then Stefan can kill her. It'll work. Elena stays home with Rick and Jenna. They don't bring her in on the plan to kill Catherine, but they basically have got her so worried about what could happen that she's just like avoiding going to town and being around everybody. Catherine gets ready. She straightens her hair so she looks like Elena and goes to the party. And because Tyler invited her in a previous episode, she just comes in no problem and everybody thinks she's Elena. Matt shows up and he starts drinking. He sees her and thinks she's Elena, and then when she talks to him, he like doesn't realize that it's Catherine. I'm not really sure how the compulsion works, if he just forgets she's Catherine or what, but basically he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get Tyler to fight me tonight, don't worry. Jeremy thinks Bonnie being a witch is so cool, but she explains to him that it's actually like really dangerous, and if she's not careful, she can hurt herself, and he's like, well, I think it's really awesome that you have powers, and they have like a little moment together. Elena picks up on the fact that the group might be lying to her when she realizes that Jeremy went to the party. And she's like, Rick, tell me what's going on or I'm getting in my car and going there myself. And Rick is like, crap, and tells her everything. Bonnie at the party feels the witch somewhere in the room with her, but she doesn't know what's going on. She goes up to the witch and she's like, do we know each other? Do I know you? And the witch is like, no, I'm a +1. I don't know anybody here. Sorry. Stefan dances with Catherine and she's like, did you bring me the moonstone? Give it to me. And he's like, well, actually, I don't have it, but I know where it is and you're gonna have to come with me. If you want the moonstone, you're gonna do it my way. And she's like, oh, is that right? She grabs Abby, who's the girl that's been flirting with Matt and then was with Tyler, that girl. And it's so horrible, but she grabs her and she does this thing where she's like, okay, well, and she hits her in the spine and she's like paralyzed from the waist down, and then she hits her in the back of the neck and she's like, and dead, haha. Okay, Stefan, give me the moonstone or I'm gonna just keep doing this to everybody. And she does that horrible like spine breaking situation in the middle of the party, just on the dance floor. She does that. So Stefan's like, oh boy, we have a red flag. Jeremy starts like properly flirting with Bonnie and he's like, do you want to dance or something? And she's like, no, Jeremy, I don't want to dance. And he's like, oh, okay, well, your loss. Elena's a freaking buffoon, so she goes to the party anyway and she runs into Jeremy and Jeremy's like, what are you doing here? And then they kind of fill her in more on the plan and they're like, look, we just have to get this over with. You need to relax and stand down and let people handle this. But Elena can't because she has a freaking martyr complex and she doesn't want anybody to get hurt protecting her. Team gets Caroline to initiate phase 2 of the plan, which is basically Caroline just pretending to be stupid and tricking Catherine into the room where she's trapped. And so Catherine goes in, Catherine can't get back out, and then the boys ambush her. So when Damon shoots Catherine and it hurts her, it also hurts Elena. So Elena is having everything that happens to Catherine happens to Elena. Jeremy has to run and stop them from doing that. And Catherine's like, ha ha ha, I have a witch on my side, doofuses, and I linked us. So everything you do to me happens to her. Suck on that. Matt and Tyler do get into the fight and then Caroline intervenes and knocks Matt out. So Matt's out for the count. And then Sarah, who was the one that fell down the stairs before, she's like, if Matt fails, I have to not fail. And then she goes after Tyler and like stabs him with a letter opener and he pushes her, and just like with Mason, she hits her head and she dies. So Tyler's curse has been triggered. So Bonnie goes after the witch that's doing the spell and then tells her like, I'm Bonnie Bennett, I'm a witch, you have to stop this, please, you're hurting my friend. And the witch is like, what are you talking about? I'm just here for the moonstone, blah, 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 blah. Well, then we just see like a cut where the witch goes into the room with Catherine and she's like, okay, stop, enough, this is what she's after, we're done now. And she goes to give Catherine the moonstone and she's like, once I give you this, my debt is repaid and I don't owe you anything anymore. And Catherine's like, yeah, that's what I said. So she takes the moonstone and then immediately the witch starts choking Catherine out and like incapacitates her onto the ground. And she's like, don't worry, I broke the spell on Elena. I'm done hurting people. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm so sorry that I was involved in this. It was a mistake. I won't do it again. Caroline very easily covers up what happened with Sarah and basically says it was an accident. You know, we were drinking. It just happened. It was nobody's fault. So she covers for Tyler. And Tyler's like, why are you covering for me? And Caroline's like, well, because you need help. The witch tells Bonnie that they're related and that's why she helped her, and it's like distant, they're like distantly related, but they are related, and so they both share Bennett blood. And the witch is like, I would never turn my back on you, you know, never turn your back on one of us, and I'm gonna stop letting vampires control me. And Bonnie's like, yeah, me too, I need to do that. And the witch is like, actually, Bonnie, you're with the good ones and you're a good one, so you're not gonna let it corrupt you. You need to stay and help your friends, which is not what Bonnie needed to hear because she's already giving too much of her powers for them. Elena and Stefan, after the craziness of the night, reunite, and he's all excited because he's like, we kidnapped Catherine, we have what we need, we can be together. And Elena is like, actually, pump the brakes, homie. I can't be with you. I'm not ready for that. I'm still worried about my friends. And Stefan's like, oh, cool, awesome, good to know. Catherine wakes up in the tomb with the moonstone and realizes that they've left her there to desiccate, and Damon is there to like lock her in officially, and she's like, you know, you need me, please don't let me like rot in here, you're gonna need my help, I can help you, Elena's in danger. And he's like, you're such a liar. Everything you do is just lie, 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 lie. You're never telling the truth. Elena's fine, okay? Leave it alone. And she's like, no, you don't understand. She's a doppelganger. She's in danger. She has to be protected. And Damon's like, okay, I'll protect her. And he just shuts her in the tomb. But then someone in a mask shows up at the freaking masquerade and they've left Elena alone in the parking lot and she gets kidnapped. Elena gets taken by her kidnapper to somebody in another car. So she gets taken by one guy. Elena gets taken by her kidnapper to meet somebody else in a car. This other person is like, okay, thank you so much for doing what I asked you to do. Come here, I'll give you your reward. And then he kills the guy. And so they kidnap Elena. So she's been transferred from one kidnapper to another. Damon gets really upset with Caroline for talking to Tyler because he's like, you're an idiot, werewolves kill vampires, you need to stay out of this, you're just gonna get us all killed. And Caroline insists that like Tyler needs help and they shouldn't leave him alone. Jeremy assumes that Stefan and Elena are back together and he's like, well, she didn't come home last night and her bed hasn't been slept in, so I thought she was with you. And Stefan's like, yeah, no, we broke up. And Jeremy's like, well, she's missing, homie. I don't know where she is. And that's how everybody realizes something's wrong. Elena wakes up at her kidnapper's like abandoned house situation, and it's a guy and a girl, and it's Trevor and Rose are their names. Hopefully I can find pictures of them. They're not hugely important characters, but they're some of my favorites. I freaking love Rose, okay? And they don't want to talk to Elena. They're very like cold with her. They won't tell her what they want or what's going on, but they are waiting for somebody named Elijah to come and get her from them. And hopefully if they can turn her over to Elijah, he'll forgive some debt that they have, but they won't give Elena any details. Bonnie does a tracking spell to help locate Elena so they don't have to go to Catherine for help. And then that drains her a little bit, and Jeremy's like very weary about Bonnie using her magic because she's done so much in the past couple days, but Bonnie insists that she's okay. Get some information from Elena's kidnappers because they break and end up telling her stuff, and basically Elijah is a member of the original vampire family, so he's really freaking old, and they've been running from him for years. So we get kind of a half flashback of like Catherine from Bulgaria, where she was running and then she ended up with Trevor and Rose, and they like maybe helped her escape, and that's what upset Elijah and got them all in trouble. So Elena's like, okay, so you're just gonna turn me over to him? Why does he need me? And they explain that like the moonstone's just part of it. So the moonstone is like kind of important, but the biggest thing is that Elena is a doppelganger and her blood can break the curse. It's very convoluted, but Rose is basically like, yeah, they need to kill you, and then the curse will be broken and everything will be better for everybody. So hopefully Elijah will take you as payment, because that's what we think he wants. Tyler goes to Caroline's house because he's tried talking to her and she's kind of avoiding him. And he's like, look, I'm really scared. I'm really alone. Please just tell me the truth. What's going on? And she's forced to admit to him that she's a vampire. So they end up bonding over the fact that they're both supernatural creatures. Damon and Stefan are on their way to save Elena, and Stefan asks for some of the human blood that Damon packed, and he explains that he's been drinking from Elena to build up his tolerance. And Damon's like, oh, that's really cool of you. That's awesome. I hate it. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, Stefan. That's my nightmare. And then at the freaking house where Elena's being held kidnapped, my main man Elijah shows up. I freaking love him, okay? He is one of my top favorite characters. When we finally finish the Vampire Diaries and I get to watch the originals for the first time, I'm never gonna shut up about him. So I hope you're all prepared, because I love him so much. Look at my little baby boy, okay? Y'all think I'm feral over Damon? This one right here, I love him so much. Rose is basically like, hey Elijah, surprise, surprise, good to see you. Remember when you thought Catherine was the last Petrova doppelganger and then we ruined that for you and she got away? Surprise, I have a new one for you. Her name is Elena. Would you like to see her? And Elijah's like, oh yes, give her to me, please. I would like to look her in the eyeballs. Trevor apologizes to Elijah and says that he's so sorry for hurting him and he did not mean it. He was like blinded by Catherine and it was all a mistake. And Elijah says that, you know, he's so glad that Rose and Trevor had each other and they've been so loyal to each other. And he's like, you know, Rose, I'm pardoning you because you were loyal to Trevor and you were just doing what your friend needed you to do to survive. But Trevor, my friend, you were disloyal to me, and therefore I have nothing for you. And he rips Trevor's head off in front of Rose. So Rose has been running with Trevor for like 500, 600 years, and they're all each other has in this world, and he just takes him from her. So Rose is devastated, and Elijah's like, up, up, up. Don't do anything stupid, Rose. And then Rose leaves, just dips. At first, Elena tries to fight back with Elijah. He realizes she's wearing vervain. He just plucks the necklace right off of her and is like, we don't need this anymore, do we? And then he compels her into telling him that Catherine and the Moonstone are in the tomb back in Mystic Falls. The boys show up and attack Elijah, but he is very old and very scary. If that's not clear, this is one of the scariest vampires we've seen yet, okay? So it takes like a whole big convoluted fight where the boys like throw things at him and there's like, you know, the crossbow stakes are used and all of that. Rick has a lot of inventions, okay, side note. So it takes all of that, and then it takes like a giant like part of the banister to just be shoved through Elijah's chest and he's like pinned to the wall, and that's what finally takes him out. So my main man is gone, you know? What are you gonna do? Elena is thrilled to see Damon. She like goes to hug him, and then Stefan gets in front of him and gets the hug first. So over Stefan's shoulder, Damon and Elena have a moment. It's so sweet. This is when the sweetness between them begins, because now she's really and truly seen the worst of the worst that he can do, and whatever happens next, they know it can't get worse than what's already happened. So due to all the emotions, the high energy stakes of everything going on, Stefan apologizes to Damon kind of out of the blue for turning him, well, not turning him, but forcing him to turn all those years ago. And he's like, you know, I guess I just needed my brother, bro. And Damon's like, yeah, okay, you ruined my life, but valid point, I guess. So Tyler and Caroline are still in their bonding mode, and they share all these secrets with each other, and she ends up just completely letting him in on the whole council situation because she feels bad and she feels like he's all alone and he's really, really scared about turning. So she just tells him the truth about everything, and they end up hugging. And see, once again, this moment right here is really and truly when the Tyler redemption arc starts, because from this point forward, he kind of regresses into like scared little boy territory. And as much as I dislike him, I know I said in like the first episode, there will be a redemption arc and I will never forgive him. I won't, okay? SA is not allowed. It's not good. But the way they write these freaking shows, it's like we're just supposed to like forget season 1 entirely and just move on with him into this next territory. So I don't know what to tell you. It gets really hard to not like Tyler from this point forward. Rose goes straight to Stefan to apologize for almost getting Elena killed, and then to say, look, you need my help because yes, you killed Elijah, but the originals are not going to stop coming. And she brings up somebody named Klaus, and she's like, Klaus wants Elena and Klaus will get Elena. Don't be stupid. You need my help. Damon goes to Elena, and we have one of my absolute favorite scenes of all time, okay? He returns the necklace that Elijah took to her, and she's so thankful to have it back, but he's just like, before I give it to you, I need to say one thing. And she's like, why do you need to tell me without my necklace on, Damon? And he's like, because I have to be selfish, and I can't be selfish with you because I love you so much. And he just pours his heart out to her. And he's like, I love you. You're amazing. I would never do anything to hurt you. I'm so sorry for everything I've done to hurt you up until this point. And he basically is like, I don't deserve you, but my brother does. And then he like is crying, and he's like, I wish you didn't have to forget this, but you do. And he takes her memories back, and then she's just standing in her room with the necklace on, confused. We cut back to my main man Elijah, who has been staked and is in the wall. Yeah, he undesiccates, he like regenerates himself and pulls the freaking stake out. So he's not dead, and the boys are in trouble. I absolutely love the beginning of episode 9 and the flashbacks in this sequence. I really, really love the flashbacks, okay? This one is really old. This is Catherine as a human in Bulgaria giving birth to the baby that will lead to the descendant line. That is how Elena is born. I know, all right? You thought Once Upon a Time was complicated. Oof! Should we do a Once Upon a Time recap at some point? Oh no, am I gonna have to do that? Why did I say it out loud? Oh. Anyway, Catherine as a human gives birth to a baby in Bulgaria, and immediately it is taken from her. She's devastated. Rose explains to Elena and the boys that Klaus is the original vampire. He's like the oldest vampire ever living, and they should be really, really scared of him because he's a big bad, ultimate baddie, very scary man. And Elena, when faced with this information that the oldest vampire on Earth is after her, is just kind of like, cool, well, I'm gonna go to school. And Damon's like, she's in denial. And Stefan's like, shut up, Damon. She's terrified. I wouldn't even say she's terrified. I wouldn't say she's terrified or in denial or anything. I would just say she's done. She's just simply done, okay? All those days when she said to Stefan, wouldn't it be nice if we could just be normal? She's just snap, crackle, popped over it. She's just gonna be normal because what's she gonna do against a crazy immortal vampire? My girl gives up, as she should. At school, Jeremy and Bonnie flirt, and Bonnie is kind of like, what exactly are you doing? Like, what is this? We cannot be flirting. And Jeremy's like, well, we are, and I like you, and I would like to play pool with you later at the grill. Please, can we go? And she says yes and everything, and then a new kid named Luca shows up. We love Luca. Luca's a fun addition to the cast, and he shows up and is like, hi, I'm new. Can you guys show me where to go? And Jeremy's like, yeah, I'll walk you to the office. Woo. Elena guilt trips Caroline into helping her sneak down to the tomb with Catherine because she wants to talk to her. And she basically is like, you owe me, you have to do this, and don't tell Stefan. You're the only one I can trust that won't tell because you owe me. And Caroline's like, yeah, okay, just be careful, please. Catherine comes like staggering into view, and she's sick but not desiccated yet. She's just like really uncomfortable and very grumpy. So Elena is like, I'm here to talk to you, and I have this, and she holds up a bottle of blood, and she's like, I will give you some blood in a little cup, sip by sip, if you tell me what I want to know. And Catherine's like, yeah, well, I'm gonna do that because I'm starving. So then we get more of the Bulgarian flashbacks. Catherine explains to Elena like her life story, which is kind of ultimately Elena's story too, because she's a descendant from her. So she basically explains, like, I had to leave Bulgaria because my family, I disgraced my family and they didn't want me anymore. So I fled to England, and then I met a vampire named Klaus, and I lived with him for a while, and he protected me. And then I found out why he was being so nice to me, which was that he wanted my blood to end the curse. So she fled to Trevor, who was like, go to this specific house. When she got there, Rose is there. Rose and Trevor live there with a human that like keeps other vampires from getting in. So they have like a safe house. And basically, Rose kind of immediately turns on Trevor, and she's like, we're not doing that. I'm not helping him. This is crazy. We're going to keep you here overnight and bring you back to Klaus in the morning, and hopefully he'll take pity on us. Catherine wasn't having any of that, so she stabbed herself, and when Rose checks on her, she's bleeding out, and Rose is like, what is going on? And Catherine's like, oh, this happened in the woods. And she's like, no, homie, it didn't. I would have smelled that on you. Are you joking me right now? She forces Catherine to drink her blood to heal herself, and then she's like, behave. Well, Trevor comes home. Rose leaves the room and goes to yell at Trevor, and while she's yelling at Trevor, Catherine, I don't know how to say this delicately on YouTube. I really can't. I can't, but Catherine, does something and jumps off a chair, and then Rose and Trevor see her not on the chair anymore. She's somehow in the air. I hope that made sense. Anyway, Catherine dies, and so because she has Rose's blood in her system, she becomes a vampire. So when Catherine wakes up, they're like, we can't believe you did this. What the heck? Catherine eats the woman, the human that like runs the house that Trevor and Rose live in. And Rose is like, oh my God, you've just signed our death warrants. And Catherine's like, better you than me, homie. Better you than I. Better you die than I. That's what she says. She says, better you die than I. And then she runs off. So they have literally all been running because of this moment in history for hundreds of years. Rose and Damon have a nice little bonding friendship moment over the fact that Trevor died and Elena's in love with somebody else. And they end up deciding to go look for Slater, who is one of Rose's friends and kind of the point of contact with Elijah. And she was like, maybe we could ask him for help and he would know something. If anybody would know something, it would be Slater. Luca interrupts Jeremy and Bonnie's date at the grill and says, like, I want to introduce you to my dad. And then when they meet, the dad is like super creepy and basically like, oh, you're a Bennett, like from Salem, like a Salem Bennett. Like, are you a witch? And Bonnie's like very uncomfortable with all of that. So she like leaves. Luca ends up like apologizing on behalf of his dad, and they end up talking, and he tells her, we are warlocks and magic and blah, blah, blah. And they bond. And then Jeremy sees her flirting with Luca, and instead of flipping out on her like he did with Vicky and Tyler, he's like, dang it. Lost my chance tonight, boys. And he just heads out very like magnanimously. It's very nice. Catherine explains to Elena that in order to defeat the curse, you need several things, not just the moonstone. She's like, you need a doppelganger, which would be you need a witch, which would be Bonnie, you need a vampire, which would be Caroline, and you need a werewolf, which would be Mason, but now it's Tyler. And Elena kind of realizes in that moment that Catherine is doing the same thing. She literally could not care less about who she kills, who she hurts. It doesn't matter as long as she gets what she wants. And once again, Catherine has that whole like, better you die than I moment. We do meet Slater, who is a really cool vampire character. He's been like to school, like to college a dozen or so times. He's got all these PhDs and master's degrees. He's just been going to school. And Damon's like, really? Like, that's what you did with your immortality? And Slater's like, what was I supposed to do, Damon? Kill people every day? No, I bettered myself, and now I have a big brain full of secrets. And he tells them also about the curse situation. And then Elijah shows up, and they're in a coffee shop with tempered glass windows to keep out the sunlight so they can enjoy being in a coffee shop during the daytime. And Elijah shows up and throws a bunch of pennies and change through the windows and just shatters the windows because he's so scary. So then they all catch on fire, and Damon is like, whoa, we gotta get out of here. This is not good. And Rose has a Minty B breakdown because she's worried that Klaus is coming. And she's like, do you understand now that we are screwed and we cannot win and we are going to die? Stefan finally gets it out of Caroline that Elena is, you know, pulling a secret shenanigan with Catherine, and he goes to the tomb, and then that's when Catherine basically reiterates what Rose has said, which is that they cannot win, they cannot beat Klaus, he's gonna come, he's gonna get Elena, it's gonna be terrible. And Catherine's like, you could beat him with the Moonstone, but you'll have to come in here and get it. And Stefan's like, yeah, we're not doing that, Catherine. Like, the second we lower the spell and can get the Moonstone from you, you're gonna freaking run away again. I'm not stupid. Catherine's like, run away again? Ha! I want to be in this tomb when Klaus comes to town because he's crazy. What part of that are you not getting, Stefan? I do not want to leave the tomb. Rose tells Damon that she's really sorry that they can't save Elena. She also says he reminds her of Trevor, and we kind of get this sense that, like, they remind each other of the people that they love. It's really cute, you know, blah, blah, blah. They hook up. It's actually kind of sweet. Like, honestly, if I had to pick a partner for Damon that wasn't Elena, I would want him to be with Rose. I really like Rose, okay? She's one of my favorite female characters in the show. So yeah, they hook up. It's a cute scene. Elena has a breakdown because now it's clear that, like, she can't blame everything on, like, Stefan coming to town or her relationship with Stefan or the vampires. Like, it's her fault. Now they know that this entire time everybody was after Elena. Catherine came to town for Elena. Klaus is after them because of Elena. Like, it's all her fault. So she can't do anything to protect her friends other than, like, die, because that's the only option she has left. So she's devastated. While she's having a breakdown, Catherine has a breakdown because in the book of history that Elena passed over to her, that Damon had given Elena, she finds a picture of herself and her parents, like, drawn in charcoal, and she cries over that because she does miss them. And we find out that Klaus, while she, like, ran from him and everything, she went back to Bulgaria and he had all of her family killed. So that's how Catherine ended up alone too. Rose tells us post hookup with Damon that there is no humanity switch. You know, maybe when you're young you can kind of flip it on and off, but the older you get, you can't do that. Like, you can't deny your feelings and stuff. And Damon's kind of like, yeah, okay. Well, then Slater calls and he tells Rose, like, you can break the curse with the Moonstone. It can be done, but you need a witch. So then they kind of are both like, okay, we need Bonnie. And then when Slater hangs up the phone, we see that Elijah is there with him, using compulsion on him to get him to do those things. And then Elijah hands Slater a stake and he's like, now I want you to drive this through your heart. And Slater's like, but that would kill me forever. Guys, it's so sad. Please. It's one of my saddest scenes. It's terrible. It's so bad. And Elijah is just like, I know, but it's necessary. So then Slater he just dies. And it's so sad. It's the worst. And that's the end of the episode. Sorry, I forgot to mention. That happens to Slater. And then we find out that Luca's dad is working with Elijah. In case that wasn't obvious, why a new witch just showed up in town. We gotta get this done. Look at that lighting change beside me, okay? My lava lamp has been on for way too long now, all right? Episode 10, Elena wakes up, somebody's in the house with her, she's freaking out. Turns out it's just Rick in a towel. I said what I said. She catches Rick in his underwear or a towel or something on the stairs, and then she catches Jenna with him in his shirt, and they're getting a midnight snack. So Elena's like, I'm gonna pretend like that didn't happen, yikes. But then we see that Luca's dad is actually also in the house, and he, like, gets her hairbrush and some other personal items and then leaves. The boys go to get the Moonstone from Catherine, and they're like, you know, you don't even want it. You said you didn't want to leave. Just give it to us, and we'll just leave you in here, and you'll be safe. She did say that, like, one episode ago. She changes her mind and says she's bored and hungry, So they need to let her out, and if they'll let her out, she'll give them the stone. Luca and Bonnie have a conversation about how she's struggling with her magic, and he teaches her how to channel, which is when she can either call upon the elements or call upon a fellow witch and kind of share power with each other to do spells. And he shows her how to do it, and they make like a cool little windstorm happen on campus. Elena goes to Rose behind the boys' backs, and she's like, I want help from that vampire that's your friend, Slater. Can you take me to him, and then I'll get you a daylight ring because I'm best friends with a witch. And Rose is like, yeah, I mean, sure. I have never been able to walk in the sun. I would love to be able to do that. Why not? Matt says he's sorry to Tyler for picking that fight with him, and then Caroline comes up and it kind of gets awkward, and Tyler says that he completely understands why she's hiding herself from Matt, and then he tells her about the fact that he's planning to chain himself up in the cellar like Mason did, and they kind of talk about the full moon coming up and like share tips. Rose and Elena find Slater's dead body in his apartment, and then they also find a human girl named Alice, who's his girlfriend. She's really not that important, but she's in the apartment, and so they have to have her help to get into the computer system. Once they're in the computer, they get her to help send a message to like Klaus's, it's like not Klaus, it's like a messaging system. So it's like you message this guy who messages this guy who messages Eliza who tells Klaus. So they do that, and they basically say Elena's alive and she's ready to give herself up. And Rose is like, she's ready to what now? That is not what you told me we were doing here today. And Elena's like, I have to sacrifice myself. I have to sacrifice myself for my friends. It's what they would do for me, Rose. Let me do this. Caroline and Tyler find Mason's journal that kind of chronologically talks about his changes, what happens to him. He recorded his first change, so they learn that together, and it's like really horrific and scary stuff, but they go over it together, and Caroline's like, I'm not gonna let you do this alone. We'll handle this together as a team. Jeremy goes rogue and uses the magic ash powder that Bonnie made to keep Catherine down. He takes that to the tomb, he uses it on Catherine, and then he tries to get the moonstone off her person and can't find it because she hid the moonstone inside the tomb. So he goes past her body, he goes to get the moonstone, he finds it, and then before he can get out of the tomb, she attacks him because no one saw that coming, little Gilbert. But he does throw the moonstone out of the tomb and into the crypt. So when everybody comes to find him, they'll be able to get the stone. He'll be dead, but Rose almost immediately calls Damon and is like, hey, don't be mad at me, but your girlfriend's on a suicide mission. So you need to get to Slater's house ASAP because Elijah is coming to get her. Stefan and Bonnie show up to do the actual moonstone snatching plan and find Jeremy trapped in the tomb with Catherine. So they're very upset about that. And Catherine basically is like, I'm just gonna keep killing Jeremy over and over again since he has this fancy ring. I wonder if it has a warranty. I wonder if it'll run out. I'm gonna keep doing it over and over again. Ha 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 ha. Luca's dad helps Elijah do a spell to locate Elena, so he knows exactly where she is and where the people that are trying to take her to him are gonna go. Stefan doesn't want to see Jeremy hurt, so he does like a switcheroo moment with Catherine where he like jumps into the tomb, throws Jeremy out to safety, and then he's stuck in the tomb with Catherine, which, surprise, surprise, is what that little biatch wanted the whole time. Damon shows up to save Elena, and they get into an argument about the right thing to do because she thinks she should be allowed to sacrifice herself, and he thinks that's crazy. But she just wants to be able to make her own decisions. After Caroline and Tyler have watched the tape and they're all emotionally wrecked, Matt shows up, and Matt's trying to talk to her, and then right as they're about to kind of like reconcile and maybe make up, Tyler comes out of the house because he's Tyler, and Matt's like, why is Tyler here? And it gets real awkward real quick for all three of them. Before Damon can get Elena and Rose out to safety, Elijah shows up, and Rose, seeing Elijah, is like, nope, I am out of here, goodbye. She immediately flees. And then Elijah surprises everybody because he walks up to the men that have come to collect Elena, and they're like, hey, what are you doing here? We were going to bring her to you. And Elijah's like, oh, I know. Yeah, I was just impatient. Does anybody else know you're here? And they're like, no. And he's like, oh, good, wonderful. And he kills them. And then he just leaves. He just leaves Damon and Elena alone. And they're like, oh, what just happened? We should go home probably, yikes. We find out that Elijah doesn't want Elena dead. He doesn't even want her for Klaus. He just wants her safe. And the safest place for Elena Gilbert to be is between Damon and Stefan Salvatore, because they're not going to let anything happen to her. So, like, Elijah's not even worried about it. He's just like, she's fine. We're just going to let her live her life. That's the best thing she can do right now. Jeremy and Bonnie get into an argument because when she's, like, messing around with the tomb spell, she does too much and almost kills her and Luca. And Jeremy is like, you know, that's not okay with me. You have to protect yourself. You're just as important as everybody else. And she's like, Jeremy, you can't feel that way about me. And he's like, it's too late, Bonnie. I already do. And it's very obvious that they've got feelings for each other. It's mutual. Damon and Elena get into a fight about the same thing. You know, you like me, I like you. We can't protect each other. Blah, 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 blah. You have to let me make my own choices, Damon. No, I'm going to do whatever I can to keep you safe, Elena. Then they find out that Stefan's trapped in the tomb. So Elena goes running. She tries to get into the tomb to Stefan, and Damon is like, absolutely not. You cannot go in there. The second you go in there, Catherine's gonna snap your little neck. I'm not an idiot. You are. You're not going in the tomb. And Elena's like, please let me. And he's like, no. No, Elena, go home. So she leaves because Damon forces her to. And then Stefan is like, you can't let her anywhere near here. And Damon's like, I know. And Stefan's like, please take care of her. And Damon's like, absolutely, I will. And then Damon leaves. After promising to get Stefan out, he leaves. And Catherine is like, oh, well, that was the stupidest thing you've ever done, Stefan. You pushed them to each other. Now they're going to fall in love. And Stefan's like, stop it, Catherine. He's trapped in there with her, y'all. It's so bad. Episode 11. Tyler calls Mason's address in Florida asking for help, and we see a girl in his apartment, and she hears the message about Tyler being like, hey, it's almost the full moon, where are you? Please help me. And she's like, interesting, what's going on? Where's Mason? And also, you're probably wondering, what the heck? Wasn't Mason dating Catherine? Yeah, he was. Don't worry. This girl that's in his apartment is just a friend. It's never really confirmed or denied why she's in his apartment with a key, presumably, but don't worry about it. They were not in a relationship. Bonnie spells Elena inside the Gilbert house to keep her from doing anything stupid, because Elena's a martyr and she's trying to get herself killed for the team. And the team decides, nope, we're gonna spell you in the house, you big dummy. The girl from Mason shows up. Her name is Jules. She spills the beans about Mason not being back in Florida. So the Lockwoods are like, where did he go? That's not good. And then when everybody else finds out she's in town looking for Mason, they're concerned because Mason is dead and she's not going to find him anywhere in town. Caroline helps Tyler prep for the full moon. It's really sweet. They get everything organized together. They make up a lie about where he's going to be and how he's going to be home really late. And yes, she's just going to be there for him and help him through the whole transition, which their friendship, not going to lie to you, I love it, okay? I didn't see it coming. Nobody does, but it sneaks up on you and they are really freaking cute together. Bonnie goes to tell Luca that she's sorry and he pretty much immediately forgives her. He's like, look, I know you wouldn't have done that unless it was really important. You don't have to tell me, but I trust you. I trust your judgment. And then he shows her all these grimoires, and he basically is like, my father, researches witch history. He collects everything. He thinks we're all related, cosmically. And she thinks it's the coolest thing ever because she doesn't have a ton of history. That's why it was such a big deal to her when she met up with that witch at the masquerade ball and realized that they were related, because Grams is gone and her dad doesn't want to talk to her about it. And her mom is also gone. So she just doesn't really have anybody in the family to talk to. So having Luca in her life is a really big thing for her. But we all know that Luca and his dad are lying, which just sucks. Why can't anybody have real friends? Rick and Damon try to slip wolfsbane into Jules's drink at the bar, and it does not go to plan. It goes south really, really quickly. Jules is basically just like, where's Mason? Do you know where Mason is? And Damon's like, oh, Mason Lockwood, he's a really great guy. Yeah, I love Mason. Drink your drink. Drink your drink, pretty lady. Drink your drink, pretty lady. And it doesn't work, and it doesn't work. And then finally, when she goes to drink it, she's like, ha! You put wolfsbane in my drink, you freaking newbie. What do you think this is? I knew you were a vampire the whole time. I smelled you the second I walked in the bar, and you were testing me? Absolutely not. You've been marked. And Damon is like, what kind of nonsense is that? I've been marked, okay. And he tries to be all like, I'm a tough vampire, I'm gonna go after her. And Rick is like, homie, it's the full moon. Go home and don't do anything else. And Damon's like, yeah, okay. Catherine in the tomb keeps messing with Stefan and giving him these freaky like hookup dreams of the two of them together every time he falls asleep. Just poor guy, all right? I would hate to see them trapped somewhere for a long time together because she is just incessantly annoying. Jenna gets roped into helping a visiting writer in town, you know, because the town has so much history, so he's there to like help her with the archive stuff and like write a book on the town. I don't know, it's never explained. It doesn't matter at all because the writer is Elijah and now he's in the house. He's been invited in by Jenna because she's a stupid human who keeps inviting vampires into the house. He goes up to Elena's room and threatens her, and it is, look, I'm just gonna say it, Elijah is so hot, guys. He's so hot. I love him, and it's because he's so freaking scary, okay? So he like zips up to her room, and she's like banging on Jeremy's door, but Elijah's already there. So when Jeremy opens the door, Elijah's like, and she's just like, oh, Jeremy, Jenna needs help with the boxes downstairs. And Jeremy's like, yeah, okay, no problem, I got you. And he goes down the stairs, and then Elijah's like, good job, I'll kill all of them in a heartbeat. Go to your room, we need to talk. And, oh my God! He's so, like, unnervingly hot, okay? I'm not gonna apologize for my preferences in men, okay? We're talking about the Vampire Diaries. My taste is gonna be questionable to some of you. Some of you are gonna get it, though. And those of you that get it, you get it. Okay, so anyway, he ends up telling Elena what we already know, which is that he doesn't want her to do anything. He just wants her to live her life, be normal, and when the time comes, they'll go to Klaus together, and then he'll kill Klaus. And she's like, that is a plot twist I did not see coming. And he's like, I know, but if you can just trust me, I'm a man of my word. I will make this bargain with you, and I'll take you to him, and I'll kill him, and it'll all be done. And then you can just live your little human life. No problems. She tacks on with this bargain. She's like, I want one more thing. And he's like, are you making a deal with me? And she's like, yes, Elijah, I am. Go get Stefan out of the tomb. Luca helps Bonnie unspell the moonstone. They have a really cute romantic like candle lit on top of the house under the full moon moment where like the moonstone breaks and it shoots fireworks everywhere. And she's like, oh my God, we broke the spell. And he's like, oh my God, Bonnie, yay, we worked together. Caroline helps Tyler through the beginning stages of his transition. It's really sad. It's as bad as it was for Mason, but thankfully, you know, Caroline's there with him. But then it gets progressively worse and worse and worse, and Tyler finally has to like force her to leave because he gets so far gone that he's like, I'm about to be the wolf and I'm gonna attack you, like I want to kill you. And he tries to get out, like when she leaves and like barricades herself in, he tries to escape and he like pulls the chains out of the ground because she's close by. So theoretically, if he had been alone and not smelled a vampire, he would have been, you know, just an upset wolf, but not like that agitated. But because she's there and he can smell her, he wants to get to her, and it makes everything worse, which sucks because she was just trying to help him. So Tyler turns and she tries to go back. So Tyler turns and he's making all this noise, and then it gets really quiet in the cellar, and Caroline's like, oh my God, thank God it's over. He's back to human form. Awesome. She goes to go back inside and he's not back in human form. He's just quietly wolf form waiting for her. So he like freaking rabbit attacks and tries to get out again, and she gets so scared she has to leave while he's like breaking down the door. Damon comes home and finds Rose in the house, and she apologizes for her part in like almost getting Elena kidnapped and everything, and just explains that like she didn't know what she was planning and she's sorry. Damon accepts her apology, and then before anything can happen with the two of them, they get attacked by a werewolf. It just comes through the big beautiful glass windows and breaks into the living room, and it bites Rose. Damon stabs it, and Rose is like freaking out because she got bit by a wolf, and Damon's like, oh no, you're gonna die. And then they watch it and the bite heals, and so they're like, oh thank God. So the werewolf biting the vampire thing, that was a lie. Okay, cool, because a couple things have been untrue about the myths and stuff, so it completely tracks. And they're like, okay, thank God, Rose is fine, nobody needs to panic. And then he just gives her a sweet little hug, which I love. Again, I told you I love their friendship so much. Luca comes home and tells his dad that Bonnie fell for it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful little candlelit fireworks display to break the moonstone spell that he did with her was fake. Luca is a liar, and he gives the moonstone to his dad, which means that now Elijah has the moonstone. In the tomb, Catherine insists that she isn't sorry for everything she's done, but she does love Stefan. And he's like, prove it. Tell me something that will prove it to me. Do something that will prove it. And she tells him that if he starts with Isabel, that might help him find Klaus, and then they could be a step ahead. And then Elijah shows up and is like, your girlfriend drives a hard bargain, Stefan. Come on out of the tomb. And Stefan's like, I can't. And he's like, yes, you can. I have a witch friend, and the witch friend has lowered the spell. Get out of the tomb, Stefan. And Stefan's like, okay. So Stefan leaves. And then when Catherine tries to run, Elijah gets all scary with her and uses compulsion. And he's like, you will not leave this tomb until I tell you to, Catherine. You will rot in here forever. Caroline goes back to the cellar and finds Tyler, and he is still in the cellar. So he's still chained up. He's still in the cellar. So when she left, presumably the wolf form gave up on trying to get out to chase her and just stayed in the cell. So he didn't get out. So he's not the one that bit Rose. And she's like, you're okay. You didn't get out. You're all right, Tyler. You're fine. And he just starts crying. And he's like, no, I'm not okay. And it's so pitiful, okay? It's pitiful. So she just cuddles him and helps him through it. And it is so sad. Stefan runs to Elena to tell her that he's out. And he's so happy that she put the caveat of him getting out in her deal with Elijah. And they kiss. So I guess they're back together now. We cut back to Damon and Rose. He says that he's so sorry that she got bit and he got her tangled up with Jules because it was him, like Jules was after him and Rose just happened to be in the house. And he's like, I'm just really sorry that this happened. And then he kind of gets flirty with her and she rebuffs him and she's like, look, homie, I don't fall in love with people that love other women. I like myself more than that. I'm not doing this with you. We can be friends. And Damon's like, oh, friends, okay. They end up kissing, and then she's like, I mean, I guess I could be your special friend. And once again, it's just really freaking cute, okay? They have so much chemistry together. I will stand by what I'm about to say until the end of time. The fact that they have chemistry is the reason why she got bit, because wouldn't you know it, when he goes to touch her again on the shoulder, her back is in pain and the bite is festering and ugly and terrible, and she is probably going to die because the writers saw her as a threat. They were like, dang, if Damon and Elena are ever gonna get together, he can't be with Rose, and they knew it would be too good, so they got rid of her. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're gonna stop. I hope you enjoyed. This felt a little bit more unhinged than the other ones. I don't know. I hope you liked it. I'm excited for the second part of season 2. If you can believe it, it gets worse, okay? It gets so much worse. If you thought to yourself, man, not that many people died in the first part of this video, buckle up, because second part of season 2 is a train wreck, all right? Wait till the finale hits. No one's ready for that. No one's ready for that. Oh, man. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel. I'm here currently twice a month, so hopefully in 2 weeks you should be getting the second half of this video. We'll just keep rolling from there. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye!